Hello and welcome to the stream. My name is Merrick Vesper, Dulahan and VTuber. Ooh, my dream is to make you smile, so sit down and stay a while. And welcome Zaza, welcome Kays, and what mistake you asked, Kays? Um, I misplaced the mistake. Oh, that's great. um, oh no. Uh, I found that I had an extra part from building yesterday, and I'm not really sure, what that means. Oh, it's right here. But we have this part, which anyone who joined us last time might recognize, is one of these on the back. It's one of these vents on the back. It looks like we have them all filled in, but I'm not so sure. I think we might have to take out the back and maybe it goes in the top here, or maybe it's just an extra piece. I don't know, but we have an extra fin. Ooh, and I noticed it yesterday when I was, actually noticed it, yeah, yesterday when I was, cleaning up a little. I was just like, oh, wait a minute. This isn't supposed to be here. Ooh. So before we start, we have to go back a little and see what we have done and make sure we didn't miss a step. No, it looks like it just comes with an extra piece, I guess, to make it symmetrical, but maybe it's gonna be used later on, but it looks like that you just have 3 panels and you just get an extra panel. I guess because that's just how the printing has to work. Okay, so we didn't make a mistake there, but you know, there's plenty of time to make a new mistake. Hello, random. Ooh. We are just getting started on, oh god, on continuing the F91. We had to first make sure that we did not make a mistake last time, though. Let's see here. Oh god, oh my. This is a very complex head. Okay. Let's get ahead. And I also lost my nippers. I really need to put things away after stream is what I need to do, evidently. You're almost finished with your F91? I've seen some stuff and it looks like a really good master grade. Looks like they tried to pack a lot into its little frame. And it sounds like it turned out pretty well from what I've heard. Ooh. But I hope your build is going well, if nothing else. Let's see here. Don't want to cut things out prematurely. So, A2, A26, A2. I can't count. I'm a VTuber. It's okay. We ain't good with math. Numbers just confuse our little brains. F6 and oh god. So I need to set up the parts again. So I put the D's on the desk, so that way they're separate from the C's, which are the same color. And I keep the A separate from the B, because those are also the same color. You always have to find your own personal way to organize each sprue, like, all the sprues. Thought you might have mistakenly placed your head in. That does happen sometimes. It is was it last week or the week before, where I went through like 3/4 of the stream just without my head on. But that's with my VTuber model where the head comes off. I prefer for building just to use the PNG because my model breaks very easily. Especially when I look down and like across and whatnot. Here's C35. Oh. There it is. Wait. What? Wait a minute. What have I? Oh, I have to build that. Do I have to build the head twice? Oh my god. Not. Okay. We might not build the head twice. So I just realized it's not that this is a really long instruction manual for the head. It is, you have the non-transformable head, and then down here you have the transformable face gimmick. Considering we've started on the transformable head, I mean non-transformable, we start on the non-trans head, so we're gonna stick with the non-trans head. Let's get that screw out. Let's get, nope. I should have my sprues to my right side, because that's where my microphone is. Having it to the left is kind of a bad idea, because it means whenever I want to reach for my sprues, I have to turn away from the mic. Okay, so it's F6. Okay, so this is the chin. Imagine to a head. Oh my goodness. Ooh. It's kind of interesting that they give the choice to like actually build just a normal head or a transformable head, and I'm a little curious as to like why not just do the one. Ooh. I guess it just shows that they cared for this kit. You can tell that they put a little more into it. I also didn't really think about it on the first stream, but I noticed that this kit has no polycaps, which is notable because our last master grade, the Gundam The Origin, had polycaps still. And then E, and then D. Okay. I should really set out the sprues before stream. Well, am I just now, like, a year into doing Gunpla streams and model building streams, just now realizing that's a good idea to set out the sprues ahead of time, instead of opening the box live on stream? We're not the fastest here. I've never claimed to be quick-witted or smart, chat. Ooh, not unironically, at least. Let me adjust the monitor real quick so I can read you guys a little bit better. Dang it, I thought the Virtue waist compatible with the high grade 007 swords, but it's not. So now my plan is kind of off the, You're doing a custom, but you found out that the custom, but you found out some pieces weren't compatible. I'm sorry to hear that, man. Seems like arms and... I'm looking for a piece. Like, arms and limbs are typically, like, cross-compatible on Gunpla, depending on which generation they are, but it really does feel like the weapons kind of get forgotten about. I remember just 2 weeks ago when we did the Amazing Red Warrior, and when I was like, oh, look at all these nice weapons. Too bad they're, like, not really compatible with any of the other Gunpla I have. That kind of took some of the wind out of that build cell. Still a great build, the high grade Amazing Red. Still very fun to build, and when you get him all suited out, it's very fun to have him. I am so stupid. The piece I'm looking for is right here. Is it? Right? No, it's E2. Where the hell is E2? E2? I have no idea where this sprue is. And that's very concerning. Give me 1 minute. Oh. Okay. E2 is the clear one. It was hiding from me. It was like it's saying Helion Halo. Really hard to see. And E9. It better not have fallen off the sprue. No, it didn't fall off the sprue. It's this little... Oh my god, that's such a tiny... That's like the size of a high grade visor. Oh my god, look how tiny that is. Like the head is a bit bigger than your average high grade, but that visor is tiny, chat. That is a little baby visor. Oh god, you could put that in a high grade, it's so small. It's a ball joint connection and the swords aren't. Here. Then E. I need to get out the stickers. And I need to get out the tweezers. And finally, get D5. Ooh. I'm having half a mind, chat. I've been wanting to do another watch-along on... I've been wanting to do another watch-along stream, but those are a little bit harder to organize. But I've been wanting to do another Discord watch-along, and it's really up in the air of which one I want to do, but I'm kind of feeling like if I might just do Deep Blue Sea for how much of just a silly cult classic that is. It has LL Cool J playing a chef who literally stabs a genetically engineered Mako shark in the eye. It's pretty cool. I think he also blows up another shark or something. LL Cool J is such a man in that movie. Oh my god. Are there smaller parts in this? Because there are smaller parts, as we discovered with this part. These guns were tiny as hell, but if there's more like tiny parts in this kit, I wouldn't be surprised, but I'm not looking forward to it. Jesus Christ, okay. It just sounds like 00 kits just aren't the most cross-build friendly. Ooh, but considering when 00 came out, that might be a little understandable, to be fair. Oh. There. Like the head feels like the head's big, but that is like what's getting me a little bit about the visor is that the head feels, it's very obviously bigger than a high grade head, but for some reason I'd have to guess it's because actually it's not this one, but the transformable one. You need extra space inside the head to do the transformable gimmick, so it has a smaller face in proportion. There's 100% more tiny parts? Oh, wonderful. Oh, wonderful, he said, wearing gloves, which makes handling tiny parts really damn difficult. Maybe if we have some extra time, we'll do the transformable head later. And then I can imagine like half the like worst parts are gonna be in that transformable head. It's a cool gimmick, don't get me wrong though. That might be wiser to do off stream in all seriousness, but not as entertaining. Not as much suffering. And then I need E4 and 5. Wrong one. I need to use my old broken nippers. And then we have G. Oh wait, no, that's G3. That's G1. G2. Okay. That actually took a lot shorter to find than I expected. And then 12. Okay, both are 12. They're symmetrical. That is really Oh! Oh no. Oh. It looks so much bigger and reasonable in the picture, but what this is are these pieces right here. Oh, that's horrible. They're literally smaller than gates. Okay, we're gonna have to put these ones to the side so we don't lose them. and put them in the same spot. We have to cut them directly off the gate because they're so small that they'd get mixed up with actually the gate pieces. Oh my, look at them! Oh my god, they're smaller than the visor! Ooh. You have to go back to square one, but you can always move forward, no matter what. Even if you have to, like, you know, reevaluate your plans, you can always act and continue onwards, though. So, it's a step back. But, you know, that just gives you an opportunity to go that much further. Then... My playlist is so schizophrenic, because half the songs are just these old, like literally 100-year-old recordings, if not older. Actually, I don't think a single recording I have that's, like, half the recordings are over 100 years old. They're actually over 110 years old. And then the other ones are just public domain guitars of, like, Bach. Is this either patriotic music from literally records that are too old to, like, comprehend. Not comprehend, but just too old. You can hear the scratching and the in them. And they just have this really clear guitar. It's such night and day, and I really should separate the two. See? Wait a minute. Why would I do that? I just threw... Oh my god. I threw C on top of the D. That is so foolish. And then I need to start putting these together, especially with these tiny parts. After I cut out this, I'll start putting this together, just to make sure we don't have too many parts out with all these tiny little demons running around. 24. That was a TV show. I don't really know what it was about, though. I think it was about, like, how... The premise was, like, every plot takes place within 24 hours... But I don't really know what they did in the show that always had to happen within 24 hours. I think maybe they had to stop terrorists or something. I'm a little concerned about something I just realized. Still have more than a dozen kits I can kit bash, but I'll have to think which one is a good kit bash and which one will become a weird and janky... Which one will have to be sacrificed to be, you know, just the Frankenstein's monster. But, what I realized, what I was saying I'm a little concerned by is that we need to cut out C24 and, this is C24. This right here, this empty space, is the place I need to cut out, and I might have cut it out already and just forgotten about it, but I don't see it. So I'm a little concerned. And by a little concerned, I mean, oh god, I may have messed up very badly. A2, you're not A2. Wait, there's an A2? Okay, that's extra confusing. That is just stupidly confusing. Hold up, I need to point something out real quick. So there is an A1, as you see. And then there's also the sprue A2. It's the same sprue. Why? just why is it labeled twice? Oh my god. Thank god I noticed that and I wasn't looking for it forever. But it is 26, which I already cut out, but it's on white, so I lost track of it. Ooh. Gun cannon with a ground Gundam backpack. I'm gonna credit that idea to you. I don't know how you're gonna credit that idea to me. I don't know, but thank you, I suppose. I just made a Frankenstein joke, but okay. My heart skipped a beat because that flew out of my hand really fast, and it by the grace of God, just stopped on my other hand. Which way is right? Up, wait, oh God. Okay. There's his eyes. Time to put the sticker on for the visor. Please come off. Okay. Now we have the delicate surgery part where we put in the man's eyes. Ooh. You are a master grade. You should not be as hard to. You should not be harder than most high grades to put your eyes in. Come on. You are a master grade. Know what you are. It's because they're two separate pieces. It's actually a little more difficult than a typical high grade. Okay. It's slightly off center. Okay. Let's see here. What the hell piece is this? I don't... This is a very bad sign. I'm just grabbing things that I have cut out, and I don't know why they're cut out. Oh God, the pain of using gloves. The pain of using gloves and being self-conscious about your hands. Now, we take this piece and we plug it in like this. You don't actually plug in, do you? Wait, no, you do. Oh God, you do. But wait a minute. Well, that's a little confusing. Because I guess this isn't a sticker point. It looks like a sticker point, but it's not. And we still don't know where this piece is. I'm just missing a piece, apparently. That's key for construction. Ooh, This is supposed to be going faster than yesterday's. And this is already at, like, what time are we at? We're already a half hour in, and we have made very little progress. And I genuinely don't know where the piece is. It was in the box. When in doubt, check the box. So that means the piece just, if it was in the box, that means the piece just broke off. Oh my God, the piece did just break off. There's no nip marks on this piece. I can't even find the gate marks on this piece, actually. Hold up. This is the piece we're looking for. This is the piece we're looking for. It just came off in the box. Perfectly. It was, like, it was on the sprue like this or something. I'm not really sure how it was on the sprue. But it just broke off perfectly. It's actually cleaner than if I had nipped it off, in all honesty. It's the gun cannon food delivery service. It's playing support class like in Helldivers. This is an ammo pack for its fellow gun cannons. Okay, so then we have wait. How am I supposed to put those on with gloves? How? How do I... Oh God. How do I... Even without gloves, even with these, how do I... Okay, so... Okay, hold up. I think I figured it out. They actually made it stupid compatible. Maybe I spoke too soon. It appears. Okay. Okay, it's not that difficult actually. Um, these are as small as the, what is it? The Gundam The Origin high grade has Vulcan cannons in its head, and these are as small, it feels, maybe slightly bigger, but these are pretty much the same size as the Vulcan cannons in that head. Jesus Christ. I'm just convinced I'm building a high grade on steroids, at least in size. He just ate some Wheaties, but at the end of the day, he still has the heart of a high grade. I shouldn't say that. The molding and construction of this is far above a high grade already. It's just the size. Oh my god. I know that in like 30-minute missions there are motorbikes you can get, but are there any mobile suits that like in Gundam that use a motorbike? In like Double Zeta, you could like say like they kind of use like a jet bikes thing, like a hover bike cannon thingy. Ooh, like they flew on top of a gun in Double Zeta was a little weird. But I can't actually think of an example in Gundam itself where like there's just a motorbike for Gundams. Oh no, go on. Did you forget all the F91 Universal Mobile suits are the smallest in... I did not forget, because this was voted on as you being short kings. I just didn't comprehend how small it would be. I think I did forget that the F91 is like 15 meters and not 16 meters like the Gundam Heavy Arms. And that might not sound like a lot of difference, but when you're building, it is a lot of difference. I can assure you. Okay. I thought like it'd all work out, Chad. I thought like, it's a master grade, okay? You know, it's not 1/44th, it's 1/100 scale. Surely, those 44s, you know, being missing is gonna like add a lot. But I'm kind of forgetting just how tiny this dude is. Whatever, I did not appreciate the fact that my F91 is my smallest high grade. So I did kind of forget. As about those Victory Gundam main antagonist mobile suits. Ooh. Oh yeah! They had... Alright, Victory... God, I haven't actually watched Victory Gundam, but I have seen that. You make a great point. They ride inside tires, and then they have, like, land ships that are just giant motorbikes themselves. God, I need to watch... I need to watch Victory Gundam. I just don't know if I have anything I need to watch before that. I need to finish some Gundams. I need to finish Gundam X. I need to finish some other things, but... Ooh, I don't know if I have anything before that in the Universal Century. Wait, no, duh. I have to watch F91 first. Ooh, but... I need to watch F91, but I don't know if I need to do anything before that, because it's F91 then Victory, if I remember correctly. So I think those are just the two that I have left. Hello, Opus! I hope you're having a good evening. Ooh. And welcome to stream. We are just taking a really long time to build this head because it's really small, really complex, and I'm wearing gloves. These V-fins are so thin that I'm terrified of breaking them. be forthright with you. You can watch F91 movie on YouTube. There's someone uploaded the movie on YouTube. Oh. I'd probably want to do that sooner rather than later. Because actually a fun fact about that is the first ever watch along we would ever do on this channel was almost a movie that was on YouTube. Man in the Glass Booth. Ooh, and I almost did it because I was like, oh hey, it's on YouTube and like chat would have easy access to it. But I wasn't sure if, considering, you know, it's a 50-year-old movie. It's actually like a 51-year-old movie. But it has a lot of poignant political commentary. And you might be like, who cares? It's like from 50 years ago. Yeah, the commentary has only become more relevant. Anyway, like, who cares? Oh, the commentary is on Israel. The commentary is actually in general, it's not just about Israel, it's more the philosophical concept of, you know, he who fights with monsters becomes monsters and whatnot. And it handles it in a very well executed way. It has a lot of deep messaging to it. Ooh. It's just that I was like, maybe I shouldn't watch it, and then it was just taken off YouTube, so I should probably get to F91 sooner rather than later. That's also a movie I want to show on Discord, though, because it's actually really good. Ooh. Actually, I had a description of Man in the Glass Booth ready to share with you guys. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I found it. Just harvesting some barley. Ooh. I need to use barley more in my dishes. Ooh, but I hope your harvest goes well. I hope you have a good yield. Ooh. I need to get the community farm sim server. Oh wait, I forgot farm sim. I don't know if it. I need to get a community farm sim server going and post it on Discord. Ooh. You're more than welcome to do that if you want. Oh crap! I didn't notice that. We almost missed a piece. That would have been very bad in construction. We need to put D5 on. So where is D5? And once I cut out D5, I can give you the description of Man in the Glass Booth, which is a bit of a silly film. Oh, this is C. Damn it! I put C over D again, like an idiot. Can't believe I did that. But I do want to talk about Man in the Glass Booth because it is just a wild movie. And I kind of just... It was also yesterday that I just realized, like, oh, how would I describe the movie? And it just came to me. And it's a 100% accurate description. The description of Man in the Glass Booth is: a Holocaust survivor, business mogul, and New York Jew is kidnapped by the IDF and tried as a Nazi for crimes against humanity. And that's only the second half of the movie. It's just like... Like, that's actually the plot of the movie, though. It's just like, you just got this dude, Holocaust survivor living in New York. IDF comes over and it's like, you're a Nazi, and takes him to Israel. And it's like, wow, this is just already off the rails. It was made 50 years ago, as I said earlier. But a lot of its commentary is more poignant than ever. Ooh, because the commentary actually isn't tied to Israel specifically. It's just tied to kind of general outlooks and jingoism and mentalities around that. Like, for example, in the story, they actually don't mention anything outside of, like, Israel and New York itself. Like, no other countries, I think. Well, some South American countries are mentioned for reasons that should be obvious. But, like, they don't really, like, make any mention of, like, anything happening in Israel at the time or whatever, because it's not about anything that is contemporary. It's about a larger concept that's more universal to not only Israel, but other countries. Ooh. You know, ooh, there's not even, like, any mention of, like, a Palestine or Lebanon in the movie. Because it's like, no, it's not. It's about a bigger picture. It's kind of interesting because the movie itself is thematically both about remembering the Holocaust while also maybe not falling to similar mentalities that led to it. It kind of has its cake and eats it too in that regard. I think the whole film, though, takes place on 3 sets. No, 4 sets. There's 4 sets in the entire film, if I remember correctly, because there's the apartment of the main character. There's the gym of, like, the place where he lives. Like, he lives in a high-rise apartment. And then the other place is, like, where he's held in jail while he's in Israel. And the courtroom that he's, like, tried in. So it's, like, 4 sets. And it's just this really big character-focused movie starring Maximilian Schell, and he doesn't chew, he devours the scenery. Let's see here. B? This isn't B, Merrick. You pulled out the wrong piece again. Okay, B. There's actually a really... I've talked about this on stream before, but I shouldn't say that. But it has one of the most wild lines I have not ever heard in a movie, but it's a line that lives rent-free in my head. And I always think of it whenever I bring up whenever I think of Man in the Glass Booth, I think of this line from it. And what it is like they're trying him as a Nazi, and he's literally in a Nazi uniform while they're trying him to be a Nazi, like this New York Jew. And he's like leaning into the fact that I'm a Nazi, you know, and he's like, I don't feel guilty about any of the things I did. I was an SS officer. And you're just like, what is going on in this movie? But everyone's like, well, he's obviously a Nazi, but we have to do this for formality. But what happens is he gets a witness in his defense, and he's like, what? Like, somebody's here to say that I'm not a Nazi? And it's his like secretary, or his assistant, who, you know, we see throughout the first part of the film, who's interacting with him. And his assistant just comes in, and it's like this younger American Jew, you know, who's just, again, his assistant. Like, he just helps him, like, plan his days and gives him, like, tells him what the stock market is and whatnot, because he's an investor. And the whole scene is just interrogating the guy. It's like, so, like, you say he's not, like, you say he isn't a Nazi, and it's like, no, I've like worked for him for so long, like, he's not a Nazi. And it's just like, but how do you know he's not a Nazi? I know he's not a Nazi because I know he's a Jew. And they're just like, but how do you know he's a Jew? And it's one of the most out-of-pocket lines in all of fiction. He just says, well, I'm a little embarrassed to say. And they're like, you're in court, you're compelled to, like, you have to say, like, you know, why it is you insist that he can't be a Nazi because he is, like, a Jewish man. And he just goes, and he's like, says incredibly bashfully, he just goes, well, no Gentile could ever be so anti-Semitic. Which is in reference to early in the movie when the character breaks down, like, the character's just anti-Semitic throughout the entire film, to be honest. He's just, like, criticizing, like, just the history of the, like, Jews and, like, their own paranoia while being paranoid throughout the entire film. And so, like, what it's saying is, like, like, what he means by it is, like, he can only be, like, he has to be a Jew because all of his criticism is from an internal perspective. But out of context, that line always just makes me just, like, laugh a little. Just like, well, he has to be. He's just so anti-Semitic. And it's like, God damn it. Best viewers on stream. Get out of here. Get out of here, bot. Man in the Glass Booth is just a wild film. Ooh. It's both kind of like so over the top, and like, it's not over the top, but it's so out of pocket in some parts that, like, it's kind of funny, but overall it is actually a very serious story, and it has a lot of commentary on like cultural trauma and whatnot. I cannot find this piece for the life of me. It's another clear piece, isn't it? So where's the clear sprue? I have to put a sticker on this. You know what? Actually forget you real quick, Kit. Really? I have to put a sticker on this. Ooh. Look at this. How do I have to put a sticker on it before I put it on, too. So I'm gonna have to, like, use 2 tweezers to do this. What is this? E2. Okay, so it's 2. This sticker genuinely looks bigger than the piece I just cut out. Did I cut out the correct piece? E2. E210. I cut out the correct piece, and it's so tiny I can barely see it. I can't... This is... Okay, so that's the back of the piece. No. It's clear, so it's like I can't even... This is unironically pain. Like, I want to bring it closer to my face so I can see it better, but that's not really an option here, is it? Okay. And we can just hopefully pull it down, push it around into the correct spot. Okay. No, it's fine. I think the sticker's on correctly. Surprisingly. And we can just shimmy it in. Please go in. Please, I beg of you. Please, I beg of you. I beg of you. I beg you. Just go home. Go into your home. It's your home. You want to be there. I think it's on right. Not quite. Okay, I think we did it. I think we got the little camera on. And then now what we need to do is we need to put the head in here. That goes there. Excellent. Okay, no. Okay, there we go. We have the head after 40 minutes of building. Wow, that is... So we're not gonna do the transformable head probably today. Okay, all of these are double pieces, so these are all symmetrical. Okay, got it. And then, let's get this piece out. Oh my god, I can't believe I forgot this, but I saw an advertisement today, and... Chat, I want you to think about, you can share if you want, one of the most, like, just... side effects from a drug you heard that made you turn your head. You know, think about the most wild side effect you ever heard. Like, we all know, you know, like, sudden onset death, or, you know, just like, oh, hey, you know, leaky stool or something. Today, while not even watching the TV, but I overheard the TV, and it just goes like, symptoms in, let's see if I can... Symptoms include increased chance of lower limb loss. What? I don't know what it was for, but when I heard symptoms include increased chance for lower limb loss, I had to stop and look at the advertisement, and then it was already over, because that's how like medical ads work. They're like, oh, by the way, this thing could like have horrible, horrible side effects. Bye. Ooh. Oh god, it's a very silly thing that we have drug ads on TV. But honestly, like that's one of the worst side effects I've ever heard. Like, you know, the one where it's like, oh, you might die. What that means is like you pretty much just have to legally say that on every medical ad, even if like nobody died during testing, because if you don't do it and somebody dies, then you can be like sued. So like the one where it's like, oh, you gotta say like, you know, oh, this medicine might kill you, is more of them just like covering their ass in the legal department. But them saying, oh, hey, you might lose a limb, like you might lose a leg, that's not them going, oh, hey, we need to cover our ass in the legal department. That's them going, oh, hey, we did tests on people and somebody lost a leg. Which makes me want to wonder, like, who the hell lost a leg? And secondly, how the hell did it still get past the FDA? How much money did they have to pay for that to happen? For them to get, like, approved for the drug where, like, literally people were losing limbs. Don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. We'll say you might lose a limb if you take this medication. And also, here's an extra, like $5 million, you know, in research funds. Okay, I see where the pieces are that I need to cut off. Then we cut this off. Ooh. I've been doing so much stuff that I haven't really been able to read Algernon nearly as much as I've wanted to. But I'm really, really, really hoping that that'll be changing with the rest of this week. If I have time, I'm just gonna probably after stream just read like the rest of Progress Report. I think it's 13 of Algernon. Sorry, Flowers for Algernon, which if you are not familiar with, is a story about a retarded fellow who gets brain surgery, and as a result of the brain surgery, pretty much is able to grow. Technically, okay, so how the brain surgery works, and this was just revealed in how I'm reading it, so bit of a spoiler if you haven't seen it, but how the brain surgery works is that they give enzymes to stimulate, like, growth of new brain cells and proper, like, neural pathways. But first, what they do is they kind of scoop out a little bit of, like, the damaged brain. So if somebody has mental retardation or something that, like, maybe through growing up, like, the chemicals in the brain wasn't right and they got brain damage, you know, so it's like a cure for brain damage, effectively what it is. But the reason I spoil this a little is because it kind of, right before I read that, I was wondering about the main character Charlie, who's like having these memories flashing to him where, you know, one of the big parts of the stories is that he remembers his past and he's like, this is what happened in my past. And I keep thinking, that's not how the brain works. And I don't know if it's like a literary device just to be like, you know, he's recalling his traumas and his pains, but every time I'm thinking about it, it's just like, well, how much of what Charlie is remembering is him getting new neural pathways to call upon these memories, and how many of them are just being made up full cloth? How many of his memories are just Charlie making things up? And I think maybe we'll get to see that as the story goes on. Maybe he'll see the people who he remembered in his memories, and they won't be how he remembered them. Like, not simply because they got older, but because he had a complete different, like, perspective of them, which means that he can't trust his memories. I'm kind of curious on that aspect of how much of what Charlie understands, how much of Charlie sees, how much of what he comprehends is trustworthy. Because as time has been going on, I've kind of been wondering more and more, like, how trustworthy of a narrator is Charlie? Not to say that he's ever intentionally lying at any point in the story, but I'm really wondering, what does Charlie do? Like, what is the difference between reality and what Charlie knows? And that's kind of happening, and there was a prediction I had about the story that's also happening right now in the story. Ooh. I know it was written within the 60s. I know, actually, I thought it was written in the 70s, but I know it was written a good while ago. I know it's like over 50 years old. Ooh. But I don't mean like it's not how the brain works in that regard. I mean, it's more just like how memory recall works and how memory isn't like a perfect system. Ooh. And how Charlie's memory is kind of going into more of a perfect system, but like it's more the fact that he's had parts of his brain literally scooped out, and it's just like, well, for those connections to be making connections with his memory, some of that would have to be in connection to his memory. So it's like, what if he's just making up memories to a certain extent? I don't think that's like a very likely thing, but it kind of does make me wonder just how reliable he is. But something what did I predict that happened recently? I'm gonna actually go to my Algernon. I'm gonna switch over to my Algernon notes so I can actually think it through. Ooh. Yeah. Ooh. Like, I'm not criticizing it for being inaccurate of, like, you know, medical science. Like, it was made long ago. Don't worry about that. I'm not... Ooh. I'm more just curious about, like, what aspects that it's depicting are for the sake of the narrative, which ones are based off of understanding of the day. And it's kind of, and with old sci-fi can be a little bit difficult finding that, like, that midpoint. Actually, I shouldn't say old sci-fi, for like middle-aged sci-fi, you go back like 100 years for science fiction, you're like, okay, I know exactly what, like, you know, preconceptions they're working on that are false, which ones are correct and whatnot. With Algernon, it's a little more like questionable of like what they were working with in their understanding at the time. And again, that's more of my blind spot. Actually, wait a minute. Why do I know the scientific preconceptions of 100 years ago better than the preconceptions of 50 years ago? Why would I know that first thing to begin with? That's actually, why would I? Yeah, I know a lot of like scientific preconceptions of like the early 1900s. Why do I know that? Why do I know a bunch of like scientific preconceptions of like the 80s as well? That's because I read a lot. Why did I read a lot of like 80s books about physics? It's kind of interesting to like read a bunch of books on physics and they're talking about black holes and they're like, yeah, black holes probably aren't real, but like, we don't really have any other explanation for like how there's a bunch of gravity in certain places. So like, we're just calling these things black holes. Again, probably not real, but like, it's just what we're working with right now. And as time goes on, you know, it's probably not just going to be, you know, a bunch of stuff that's, you know, so dense that it sucks in everything else. Because that would be silly, you know, like it's just so much stuff. It collapses in on it and like breaks space and time. Like, it can't just be something like that fucking simple. Turns out, yeah, no, if you get enough stuff and you just get more stuff and more stuff, all the stuff collapses in on itself and then you don't have any stuff no more. But also that literally tears a hole in space-time where everything else falls into that hole. Which is really terrifying if you think about it. If you get enough stuff together, you just break the universe. Old schools of science, preconceptions have nothing in modern science modern science preconceptions are insane because they're just like, yeah, you know what, we don't know, we don't freaking know, let's be honest. So much of modern science is just them going like, yeah, there's like strings that bind the universe together. What? Yeah, and they make it so that like there's infinite universes that like are also bound together. What is like what is this even like to explain? I don't know why like I woke up with a headache instead of not having a headache. I don't know what's going on anymore. But yeah, there are some out there fucking modern scientific theories, and I cut out the completely wrong piece, so chat, we're gonna have to remember that that's there. But we need D40. Where's D40? And this is D50 and 51. Okay. Yeah, you should see actually, I'm far more of a dinosaur autist than I am a physics autist. Physics is fun just because it's just like, so much of it is just like, it's either like, yeah, we think it's either A or B, and then it's just like, it turned out it was C. And it's like, okay, that's the funnest for physics it gets for me. Ooh. But like sometimes it's interesting, like how they still don't know why what is it, Neptune has a weird orbit, because how they found Neptune in the first place is they looked at Saturn. Wait, no, wait, is it Neptune or Uranus? Uranus. I think it's Neptune. They looked at Uranus and they looked at Saturn and they're like, these have really weird orbits. And this one French dude was like, just did some calculation and he's like, okay, I figured it out. There is another planet right here in the solar system, and everyone looked at that spot in the solar system and they found Neptune. And he's like, I know, I'm amazing. I'm gonna go play the violin for 4 hours before going to bed and ruin my neighbor's night because I'm just gonna play it really loud for some reason. Yes, that is actually something that happened. That is completely accurate. The guy who discovered the outer planets did it by using math, and they were like the first planets ever discovered using math. He discovered it by the gravitational pull they had. But also, this dude every night, and I mean every night, would just practice his violin before going to bed, and his neighbors actually hated him for it because he was a hyper intelligent, very capable man. And so he didn't just like play like, oh hey, let me slowly play the violin. No, he played the like a most aggressive, most just like you're going to be awake because this is like too intense for you not to like for you to be asleep during kind of person, because he was like, I always need to be challenged. Like he was a actual like genius if my memory serves, but he was also a pompous asshole who did not care about anyone else. String theory is almost definitely bunked. It was a always bad sign. Yeah, string theory was one of those things. It's kind of like black holes where they're like, yeah, there has to be like a better explanation to this. And string theory, it kind of turned out like, yeah, there's a better explanation actually. Ooh. Like there's still some things holding on to like string theory and like how it could possibly be true, but it's not really talked about much anymore. Usually now what I hear today is about cosmic bubbles, and what those are when the universe was forming, it did not form in an even fashion because it was so chaotic at the start of the universe that there were some parts in the universe that were of high and low density on a quantum scale. So think of the smallest thing you can and then go like 1,000,000 times smaller than that. When the universe was at that state, it was boiling, it was bubbling. Even when it was that small, it was an uneven mess of high and low pressure. And pretty much our universe can be partially explained by the fact that there aren't actually universal, well, there are universal constants, but the universal constants themselves are affected by these these areas of low and high pressure by the cosmic web, which is like where matter hooks up to one another in the overall universe, and these cosmic voids, which are just areas of low pressure in the universe. So like these areas of high and low pressure in the universe effectively, or high and low mass rather, because pressure isn't really a thing in the side of a vacuum, just makes it so it's just like when we look out at the universe, it's not quite as constant as we thought it was, and it's being used to explain some inconsistencies in our observations of space and time on a macro scale of the universe. So when I say macro scale, I want you to imagine the biggest thing you can, then go a million times bigger. Kerbal Space Program gave me a love for orbital mechanics. Orbital mechanics are cool as hell, and one of the things that actually got me into Gundam, unironically, was when I found out that they used Lagrange points, and I was like, hold up. So this science fiction where they have artificial gravity, and they absolutely like have the capacity just to go high sci-fi. They're like, no. We're still gonna keep the spaceships and like the space mechanics all grounded for the most part. It was like, oh my god. Like, the spaceships will have like artificial gravity, but they're going to have low artificial gravity. You know, they're gonna have, they're effectively gonna have like right above microgravity on board the ships. So how people get around in Gundam ships is actually, there's little handles on the walls of the hallways, and you just grab a handle and it just pulls you down the hallway. And there's little junctions in the hallway to allow like the handles to go over one another or to, you know, cycle back around. It's actually like a really thought out thing. There's just like this really cool underlying like hard science in a lot of Gundam, especially the Universal Century. But actually they use Lagrange points as a way to establish effectively geography in space. So it's just like what battles are happening in relation to each other. It's actually a really, really like good way to make it so like we know what's happening where by using Lagrange points. It's a good way to ground your anime about several meter tall robots that can only function with anti-gravity technology that you literally have to invent called Minovsky particles, but then just go like, yeah, but like, you know what, like they're not god particles. There's limits to them. And that's actually a consistent thing in Gundam too, like even the alternate universes, which have even more of a focus on anti-gravity tech, will still have like the spaceships not be using it all the time because this is not a good use of resources. What I was gonna say earlier is I'm more of a dinosaur autist. And for me, I know like bits and pieces of like, you know, oh, how like scientific discoveries in physics and whatnot like have changed throughout time and medicine and whatnot. But it's really hit or miss, and it's just kind of like all over the place. And my dinosaur autism is still hit or miss and all over the place, but there's more of it, so it looks less spotty. Like the fact that like how they just transported fossils when they first found them, they were just like, okay, put it in a cart and just take it back to the museum. And then when they like opened up the box in the museum, it was just dust because they just took the fossils, which are very fragile rocks, and just had them like go on a bumpy road all the way back. So like a shitload of fossils that were described and like that were recorded but never described, which is to mean analyzed and like actually like, you know, presented and figured out what they were. There's a bunch of fossils that we know existed but were destroyed simply because of the roads being a little too bumpy. Or how there's literally in, almost said anthropology like an idiot, not archaeology, but also in just like getting the dinosaurs out. I just forgot what it's called for some reason. Not archaeology, is it? Anthropology is humans, anthro. Is archaeology just ancient cities, or is it also dinosaurs? My brain is farting on me. Ooh. But in the early days of digging up the bones, wait, Grant is in Jurassic Park. Grant is he an archaeologist or is he? Damn it, he's a dinosaur expert. My brain is killing me right now. They turn on a fan. Evidently too warm in here for me to think. But there's an event called, not an event, but like literally like 30 or 40 years in early digging up dinosaur bones called the Bone Wars. And all it was primarily two guys who were like the earliest dinosaur experts of their day, just going out, digging up dinosaur bones and going, I have discovered another dinosaur. Like, I am the best, I am the greatest dinosaur expert who will ever live because I have found another dinosaur. And then the other one would go and be like, oh yeah, well, I found two dinosaurs. And then it turned out that, like, no, he just found one dinosaur, but he just, like, kind of separated the bones. And he didn't mean to. He was just so excited. He was like, oh my god, I found this shin bone and a skull. Well, they can't be connected to the same animal, even though I found them in the same pit. They must be completely separate animals. And it's like, so it got a little silly very quickly. Ooh. Let me see, B. Oh, I need to get B out. The Bone Wars got very silly very fast. But it is a fun time in history because a lot of things were discovered only to be defined and analyzed like a lot later. Like my favorite dinosaur, the Pachycephalosaur, which was not part of the Bone Wars, but was discovered, I think, around that era. This farmer paid me to harvest his Bailey, and I tried to steal his straw by pulling a bale behind the combine, but it wouldn't work, sadly. What the? I don't know if that's a typo or if steal straw means something else. Or am I thinking of the wrong steel? Am I thinking of the wrong steel? No, yeah, you said steel as in the metal. Ooh. Is that a typo, or is, like, stealing straw a thing? And what is that? Stealing... Oh, okay, you tried to steal, okay. No, you just tried to commit theft, okay. I don't know farming terms. It could have been a thing. It could have been like you were trying to put grit into, like, the wheat for some reason. Why you do that, I have no idea. But you could be like, oh, you drag it on the ground and it puts extra minerals in it. So then, like, it creates a different content. I don't fucking know. I don't know. Farming is all crazy to me. Oh, I'm gonna have to be changing out pieces so much. You a dum-dum? Nah, man. What you did is you learned for next time, so you're gonna steal that straw. You're gonna actually steal the straw the next time. Disclaimer, don't steal IRL. Don't ban me, bro. We're just getting experience. That ain't dumb. As long as you retain it and apply it to the future in some useful way, ain't nothing dumb about it. The straw is a shaft left over from the grain, and it gets baled and used for things like bedding it. Yeah. That's actually, yeah, straw is that. Ooh. You get the straw, you put it on a wagon, and then you take a tractor, you hook it up to the wagon. You get a bunch of white people, and they ride the straw and the wagon. Ooh. And that's how you make your money in the fall after the harvest, or when you're waiting for your corn to harvest, but you already harvested your wheat. Ooh. At least that's what you do in the Midwest. The Midwest is corn country, so every fall you just drive through it, and everything's, because it's harvest season, whether it's corn or wheat. It's just these golden hills. And then you'll just see a big sign that was handmade by some farmer. It's like corn maze. every now and then you'll just be like, this guy got a corn maze, this guy got a corn maze. He wanted to harvest some corn partially early, but wanted the overall, product, like the overall field he didn't want to harvest. He just wanted to get an early harvest in a bit and wanted to make some side money. Oh, I spell the wrong one every time. I don't spell steel wrong every time, but I always second guess myself. Steel is one of those words that also gets me, in complete honesty. Steel is a word that very much gets me too. I always second guess myself, and I have to remind myself because of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Is how I have to remind myself. Because the Pittsburgh Steelers are named that because for the steel factories of Pittsburgh. So it's Steeler. But even then, sometimes like I get like my brain mixed up and I accidentally still spell it wrong. But more often than not, I get it right. It's just one of those words you don't... I don't know why. I don't know why steel is trickier than some other words now that I think about it. A234. Ah, there it is. A Pachycephalosaur. I'm gonna give you some dinosaur lore real quick. The Pachycephalosaur was actually discovered by like a farmer, and it was described... Oh, it was described, I think, as an armadillo at first, because they just, I think, had the cranium of it, and if you don't know what a Pachycephalosaur is, it is the dinosaur that has the cue ball head. It is the dinosaur that's actually a lot smaller than what you typically think of with a dinosaur. It's, I think it's actually a little bit smaller than a bison. But they had like domed heads that they would run into one another, it's believed, and have interest-specific combat, which means that they would compete with one another, probably for mates or territory. And it's just a very cool dinosaur. It's a theropod, if I remember correctly, but it is one of those few theropods that are, you know, not like fleshy eat. They are plant eaters instead. One time he spelled bureaucrat correctly for the first time. Bureaucrat is I fucking hate that. I shouldn't curse, but I hate that word. Bureaucrat is one of those words that, like, it's so obviously French and it's so hard to spell. It's you either have to memorize how to spell those words or you just forget how they are every time, because you can't use traditional English phonetics for them. Oh god, like rendezvous is another one. Rendezvous is a word I used to know how to spell better, but I have actually forgotten how to spell it like consistently. Maneuver. Though for maneuver, I hurt myself because I spell maneuver R-E. I don't know why, but a lot of my spelling patterns and habits are actually English. Oh god. Are actually English and not American. And I think that's because I read a bunch of English authors when I was learning to read. Ooh. That's actually just a little weird fact about me. And if you ever wonder why I spell color with a U, or I spell armor with a U, that is why, because I, for some reason, just when I was learning to read, primarily read English authors. Ooh. And I really don't know why that is. That's also why I spell gray. Like sometimes with color and armor I'll switch between, but gray, I cannot stand spelling gray A-Y. G-R-A-Y. I hate spelling gray that way. I have never met anyone I have known who spells it E-Y. But for some reason, I have to spell it E-Y, and I cannot stand the I just cannot stand even seeing the American spelling, as weird as that might sound. Like, it just looks wrong, it looks ugly. Ooh. It's just always been remembered by me as E-Y. Ooh. Pachycephalosaur. Let's get it back. You usually use gray as well. Nice. Nice, a man of... Huzzah! A man of culture! But the Pachycephalosaur was discovered, and they just kind of only had its dome, if I remember correctly. And they're just like, oh, this is an armadillo dome or something. Like it's from like an ancient armadillo. And then, what is it? In the 60s or 70s, like some decades later, two guys whose names escape me right now, discovered it. One of them was named Hayden. But I can't remember if Hayden was the name of the person who discovered it, or the people who one of the two scientists who described it. I used to know all three of their names. I don't remember all three of their names right now. But the scientists who described it pretty much went like, "Oh no, this is a dinosaur, and it is not a." It's a dinosaur, not a armadillo, and they actually petitioned for the name to be changed from its original name, which again eludes me right now. But they wanted to change it from its original name, which was for, again, an armadillo, to Pachycephalosaur. Which actually is one of the longest names in dinosaurs for any dinosaur. If I remember correctly, I believe Micropachycephalosaur, which is a pachycephalosaur from China, has the longest dinosaur name. Ooh. I like pachycephalosaurs. But the Pachycephalosaur has a pretty neat history and doesn't just have one discoverer because of it. It's also a dinosaur that just, I don't know why it doesn't get a lot of love. It's very unique. It's a very unique dinosaur, but it kind of gets passed over a lot. But there are dinosaurs that, you know, get even less love. To be honest, a lot of hadrosaurs, because there's so many hadrosaurs that if you want like a specific hadrosaur and it's not like a Edmontosaurus or something, which I don't think actually Edmontosaur. Hadrosaur is a little confusing because there's hadrosaurs and there's hadrosaura, and hadrosaurs and hadrosaura are not the same thing because naming conventions are freaking stupid. So it gets a little confusing in dinosaurs very quickly because you have effectively like 150 years of history of naming conventions, and half the dinosaurs were named wrong when they were initially discovered, and half the genera, which is like the species grouping, were also named like incorrectly when they were first discovered. Which is kind of impressive that you discover something, you name it, and you're already wrong. But you know, that's just, it just makes it a lot funner in the past when you just get when there's just names being reused for like several different things, but they're slightly different. There's also people who will do that. They'll be like, oh hey, what's that? Like this dinosaur name is taken. I can't name it the Kick-Ass Rex. Well, then I'll name it the Kick-Ass Rex, but I'll have 3 S's in the name. And that's a thing that scientists do because they're really, really freaking petty. And so you'll just have dinosaurs with almost identical names because some guy could not be bothered to think of a new name. So he just changed a single letter and went, that'll do. One of the dirtiest, messiest things I've ever seen. Ah, crap. I cut off with the wrong sprue. Stegosaurus is great. The Stegosaurus got its name. Not its name, sorry. The Thagomizer, I'm sure you know this if you like Stegosaurus, but maybe if you don't. The Thagomizer is the tail spikes on the end of the Stegosaurus. And how it got its name is that they didn't have names. They were just tail spikes for the longest time. Then Farside, the cartoonist behind Farside, just made a joke where it's this caveman going, and this is what we call the Thagomizer for the late great like T.S. Thag. And scientists were just like, that's actually really funny because it just like because there's like an implication that it's called Thagomizer after the guy who may have died by it. Like there's almost like this implication in the comic without like ever directly saying that. And scientists were just like, yeah, that's what we're going to call it now, the Thagomizer. And I don't know if any other thing like that has gotten a name because just, again, Farside was like, yeah, here's a joke I have. I think also the fear of ducks. He also made a comic where it's this, I forget what it's called, but there's something phobia. And the phobia is literally just the fear that somewhere, somehow, a duck is watching you. And in the comic panel, if you look really, really closely, in one of the it's a big city landscape, and if you look closely in one of the windows, there's just a duck looking at you, the viewer. Ooh. But if you like a Stegosaurus, would you mind sharing what you like so much about the Stegosaurus? Ooh. Did it? As I look for this piece, which should be obvious, but apparently isn't. Am I looking for it on the... I am looking for it on the wrong sprue. That's why I can't find it. Ooh. The Stegosauruses are pretty cool. But is it just like the combination of things? Is the fact that they have a really proportionally tiny head? They're one of those herbivores. There's always one herbivore that has, like, in every era of Earth's existence, which just has a really tiny head. And, like, scientists look at it and go, like, wow, this is really tiny. There were, like, Stegosaurus was the Triassic, but in the Permian there was one. There was, like, one in the Jurassic and whatnot. You just think it's awesome that they had armored plates and that they used to regulate their body temperature. Ooh. It is pretty cool. I actually really, really like it when the plates on the Stegosaur are accurately depicted. Let's see here. Can I get... I need to find this piece, but... A lot of times they're depicted as just like straight on the back, but the plates of the Stegosaur actually had like an alternating pattern. So like what you'd have is like you'd have the plate on the right would be here, then the plate on the left would be here, and then the next plate would be here, and then the next plate would be here. They wouldn't be like this. They wouldn't be like side by side. They'd be offset from one another, and it like looks really cool when you see like accurate reconstructions. And they are pretty metal. They're like the ankylosaurs, which are the one really armored dinosaurs. And I like how ankylosaurs, their tails, which were just giant, like, reinforced bone clubs, weren't even used for, like, they could be used for defense, but it's actually been found that the ankylosaur's tail was used for intraspecific combat, which, as I said earlier, means it was used to fight other ankylosaurs. And the reason we know this is because we looked at the bodies of other ankylosaurs and we realized that their armor and their ribs were broken around the area that they would be hitting each other if they were back to back and hitting each other with their tails. And it's just like, oh. But it'd be kind of like antlers, how antlers are primarily for, you know, deer to fight other deer, but they can still be used, you know, if a bear or a bobcat, like, pops up to intimidate it to go away. So it still had utility in defense, but it appears that its primary function was probably not defense. Then A2. Dinosaurs are just cool in general. They're all metal and awesome in their own way. I'm so concerned about dinosaurs. I'm doing this really slowly. Ooh. But definitely only gonna complete the arms today. But hopefully when I do the second arm, it goes a little bit faster. And then we cut this part off. Oh, something just fell. Wonderful. I don't know what just fell off the desk, but something fell. And then, it looks like it goes on like this. Yes. Kind of cool how it has a functional thumb, even though I don't really understand the point of it. And then we put the this here. And then, chat, don't we have like a piece we cut out earlier and I said I have no idea what it's for? Did we ever use that piece? We did not. I just have a piece, and I don't know how, where it came from. It might have just fallen off the sprue like that other piece. Stegosaur was a nice, good favorite. I will never get over the fact, speaking of metal stuff to do with dinosaurs, I will never get over the fact that just, I don't know, I need to learn if they've named it Hell's Creek before or after they discovered all the dinosaurs, but like Tyrannosaurus Rex, Pachycephalosaur, you know, all sorts of dinosaurs that we know today in America were founded first in an area called Hell's Creek, which is just one of the hardest names in all of just paleontologists. That's the word. Sorry. In all of just paleontology, just Hell's Creek is where we find all the hardest core dinosaurs. It's like, God, that's awesome. I just remember it's called paleontologists because I remember that people who make dinosaur art are called paleo artists. A paleontologist, that's the word we were looking for. Actually, if you want to see something cool, you might want to look up for dinosaurs the Draco Rex, which has a cool ass name because it literally means Dragon King. But the Draco Rex is actually believed to be a juvenile pachycephalosaur. Ooh, C4. Okay. Oh wait, no, C Merrick. Is a juvenile is believed to be a juvenile pachycephalosaur. Get this and this and this. There we go. Oh, this is we're moving on to the left arm. Okay. And it's kind of cool because like the pachycephalosaurs are known for like their big chrome dome heads that they would use to bash other members of their species with, you know, like run into them like rams with their heads, like bam, you know, real cool things. Or maybe they were just for like intimidation purposes. We're not 100% sure. It's kind of hard to like determine things like that sometimes. But the Draco Rex, for some reason, it doesn't have a chrome dome. It just has a bunch of spikes on the top of its head. So it's like believed that maybe those shed when it gets older or something. Maybe they literally just break down as the heads are used and they just get left as like chrome domes. So maybe we're just seeing older pachycephalosaurs are just ones who've, you know, just whittled away their head spikes. But it looks really, really hard. And it really does feel deserving of the name, the Draco Rex, because again, it's just a pachycephalosaur, but instead of having the top of its head be rounded and smooth, it's just covered in spikes. It actually can be a little bit difficult finding the Draco Rex, though, if you search for it. I will be frank with that right now, because it is because it's a juvenile. It's because it is currently believed to be a juvenile of another species. It's not an actual like taxonomical name for a species. So if you look up Draco Rex, you might have a little bit difficulty in finding it, and it will actually, if you're on Google, redirect you to pachycephalosaurs because that's what it is. 25. Actually, I mentioned earlier, and this is a fun fact I actually was shared with earlier, but not only does China have the longest name for a dinosaur in Micropachycephalosaurus, but it also has the shortest name for a dinosaur in like I think it's like the Xi-Qua, which is this XI space QA. And that's actually a really, really cool dinosaur if you haven't looked it up, if you haven't seen it before, because it's a dinosaur with bat wings. Ooh. Like that's actually a thing. There is a just imagine a bird, but then its wings are literally just like on the membranes of its fingers like a bat. that's a thing that existed, and that is one of the coolest. That's also a really cool dinosaur. Now that China has like actually been like starting to dig up dinosaurs, China is finding some really cool dinosaurs in their backyard. They also have, I believe, the U-Tyrannus. I think the U-Tyrannus. Is it Chinese or is it or is it like Canadian? I can't quite remember actually. But I think they also have I think the U-Tyrannus is from China. It's kind of just like a smaller, leaner Tyrannosaurus Rex. Ooh. It's kind of like if you've ever wondered, what if the Tyrannosaurus Rex wasn't a shit brick house, but was like, you know, like a nimble little dude, you know, was actually like a more traditional theropod that maybe had to like chase down his prey instead of just going, I bit you in half. Oh my god, I just remembered like one of the hardest pieces of paleo art you'll ever see. I don't know what it's called, sadly, but there is a piece of paleo art where it's literally a Tyrannosaurus Rex ripping off the nose of not a stegosaur, of a Triceratops, and the Triceratops is alive, and it's just like, oh god, my nose just got ripped off. Like it's the front beak and the front horn of the Triceratops is just ripped off. Actually, I shouldn't say Triceratops because that's a bit of a misnomer. Of the Ceratopsin. Ooh. Because it's kind of hard. Whenever you see something called a Triceratops, a lot of times it's just a Ceratopsian. But it might not necessarily be a Triceratops because we kind of just, it's kind of like how all long-necked dinosaurs are just Apatosauruses, or how we just kind of group everything into its first name because it's a lot easier to say, or it's just the thing that's most popular. But actually, a little fun fact is my favorite dinosaur is not Pachycephalosaur overall, and it's not even extinct. It's actually still alive, my favorite dinosaur. It's the harpy eagle, which lives in the Amazon. The harpy eagle is literally evolved to be an eagle that can that can fly through the thick canopies of the Amazon rainforest. So it has shorter but broader wings to get lift, which are more energy demanding, but it gets away with it because it gets pretty energy demanding food, because what it does is it eats monkeys, and sloths are like some of its favorite foods. So just imagine you're a monkey sitting in a thick canopy and you're like, yeah, I'm pretty safe here, aren't I, Paul? And then Paul just gets grabbed from like the same branch you're in. Like, you're just covered by leaves. You're surrounded by like, you know, coverage and like foliage. You know, you can't even see the sky, you know, you're so deep in the canopy. And then an eagle just literally flies in between the branches, tucks its wings in, grabs Paul, goes through the like other side, opens its wings back up, and then flies back up like through the canopy. You'd be like, that's just hacking. You're not allowed to do that. Harpy eagles are also absolutely beautiful animals. They're giant eagles. I think they might be the heaviest eagle in the world, now that I think about it. They're real big boys. They are really big. And they, again, are just beautiful. They have like this white and gray coloration, which makes them really striking. And they have actually a head crest. Ooh, they have a plumage head crest. So, and what that looks like is the feathers on the back of their head can just stand up. And against their white face, these gray, almost silver, like just feathers standing up just gives them a hell of a presence. Ooh. They're also incredibly like efficient and brutal predators to boot. Some harpy eagles were actually transplanted into like a new area, and they're like, oh hey, there's like a local population of monkeys in this area that's never seen a harpy eagle before. Let's see what happens. And normally what happens is when a monkey sees a harpy eagle, they start going like, "Oh, hey everyone, death approaches. Take cover. Somebody's about to die." But these monkeys had never encountered a harpy eagle before. So the harpy eagles were just like, "Oh my god, it's free food." They would just fly into the canopy, take a monkey, and the monkeys wouldn't know what just happened because they weren't familiar with harpy eagles. And the scientists like this were like, "Oh." They found it interesting because they're like, "Oh, this shows that the monkeys, you know, calling out like when they see a harpy eagle is conditioned, not just like something inherent to like their biology. It's not just like, oh hey, it happens so much that they have like an evolutionary fear of this animal and just naturally call out in fear. Ooh, it's actually a learned condition." It's kind of crazy that the animal that how you think can be influenced by the traumas of your ancestors in a direct sense for like how they survived. Ooh. So like a lot of animals actually do have built-in fears of certain things. Like, for example, orangutans have a built-in fear of tigers. Ooh, because you can take an orangutan that was raised in captivity and has never seen a tiger, and it has been raised in captivity for multiple generations. So nothing has ever seen a tiger. They don't know what a tiger is. They don't know what it looks like. You show them a picture of a tiger, they will literally crap themselves and have a panic attack because they're like, that is the embodiment of death. Let's see here. We have B, D. Okay, D2. You say D2, but I feel like that might be a lie. I'm gonna get out. Oh my god, I just realized D2 is the same thing. Where it's the 1 and 2, but it's the same sprue. I thought that was just a misprint issue that it was just like, oh hey, this is D1 and this is D2, but they're both just labeled D1. No! Why is this a thing in this master grade where it just doubles up on the sprue for no reason? Like, did they plan to break these pieces off? I guess it's so maybe you can break these pieces off and have more sprues. But that seems like it just make things way more complicated if you just have more sprue. Not only that, but like the sprue doesn't reset when you get to like D2. It's still in like the 50s and 41s and whatnot. I don't know what's going on with this. Quite frankly, I don't understand you, Bandai. 46 and 47. It looks like this kit, though, has a bit of redundancy. Ooh, because how the mold would have been printed. I don't know, that's kind of surprising me how much redundancy is within this kit. Kind of also making me a little more relaxed because I have been known to break things. But I'm usually used to Bandai being pretty economical with their pieces and with their plastic. Again, it kind of just conveys how much this kit was probably more of a passion project or more... had a little bit more love to it. Had a little bit more leeway that could be granted to it. I thought I completely lost that piece for a second, I'm going to be honest. Sometimes that happens. You just cut it off the sprue and it just leaves your sight. Speaking of cutting off the sprue, there it is. White on white, not the best. You guys can see it a little bit better, but from my angle, those are the same shade of white. And then we need this. And it is 4. I want to get 2 stickers here too. We have redundancy here. I could have painted this, but quite frankly, I wouldn't want to. Mostly though, that's because painting in yellow is a real pain, because when you paint in yellow, you have to add extra coats because yellow is so thin. But not only do you have to add extra coats because yellow is thin, but you actually have to add a base coat to it no matter what. Like, you should always be adding a base coat to most of the time, but for yellow, you have to add a base coat because it's, again, so thin that it firstly needs something to hold on to that's a little bit thicker, and it needs something to, like, more fill it out. I'll talk more about dinosaurs, but I can't. Oh! I should ask Atya during the collab. I'm gonna forget. Chat, if you could remind me, that would be really cool on Saturday. What's your thoughts on Anomalocaris? If you don't know what Anomalocaris is an example of one of those animals where they had like 3 parts of it. You know, like remember when I said like they had the head and the shin bone and they're like these are different animals? That was a little silly. Anomalocaris is a little more understandable. What happened is that they had the fins of Anomalocaris, the mouth of Anomalocaris, and the head and the mouth grabbers of Anomalocaris, but all of them were separated. And they thought all of them were like their own thing. They thought the mouth was like a jellyfish. They thought the pincher, like the mouth parts, I forget what they're called, but like the grabby mouth parts, they thought those were just shrimp, and actually, like, I think Anomalocaris just mean like hell shrimp or something, just like really big shrimp effectively. And the fins they thought were like coral or something. Ooh. And if you look up Anomalocaris, like, it might seem a little silly that they like had these, you know, parts of an animal for an extended period of time and were like, yeah, these are completely different things, and then one day just went, oh, wait a second, it's all the same thing. But if you actually look up Anomalocaris, you're going to immediately go, like, oh, that's actually really understandable. Here's the problem, chat. I did not make sure which part is which, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna cut out 46 right here. Ooh. I'm gonna use the fact that we have redundancy to compensate for my stupidity. Ooh. So give me one moment. Unknown track 8. Good to know. I really need to rename some of these tracks. So this is 46. And 46 goes on like this. Like this? No. It goes on like this. Okay. I just realized I was able to figure it out. Okay. So now we need to find the ones that are not pronged. They're very tiny, but this one is the adjoining piece because there's little prongs at the top of this that will slide in. Look at that. And then this goes here. And now we can start building the rest of the arm. I wonder how much time we'll have. Okay. We're definitely not doing the legs today, but I want to... This kit might actually be a 4-parter. How do I want to do this? You know what, I'll do the weapons... Actually, crap. I never do the weapons off stream is the problem. I'll try for once to do the weapons off stream so we can do mandibles. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know why that was malfunctioning. But, we'll try to do it off. I'm gonna try to do it off stream so that way we will be able to finish it on Monday. But, best laid plans of mice and men. We might just do it tonight, in all honesty. And I did not flip the page back. No, I'm on the correct page. Oh god, I still have to do the shoulder pads. We have to do the right and left shoulder. Oh my god, they are not symmetrical, which makes sense, but it's still annoying. You know, I just realized I never actually... I went on tangent to tangent that I never actually covered what my theory for Algernon was, and I don't really remember what it was. Oh, no, it's the fact that Charlie's starting to recognize that, like, he's not quite appreciating it, but he's starting to recognize also with everything else that he's going to have his own limitations, that though he's always absorbing more and more, there will be a point where he will have to confront his own limits. Ooh. And he hasn't found them yet, but he has begun to realize that. Give me 1 second as I try to figure this out. Ah, okay. I did not push this down all the way. There we go. Then we can go to here and we're going to need B. We're gonna need the one we didn't cut out already. We're gonna need B25. Let me actually try to focus and do this part a little quicker. B25. We already cut out that piece, so we don't need it. Then we're gonna need the C pieces. And C is kept. Why is D over here? I messed up. D's are supposed to be out here, C is supposed to be in the box, and I keep leaving C out, which makes things so confusing because they're the same color. Okay, so then we're gonna have to have C22. Okay, then we're going to have A231. That is going to be then D, then D2. Oh wait, D34. Ah crap! Did I already cut it out here? Yeah, I already cut it out there, so it must be on. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, it's right here. There we go. And then after that, we have D32. There we go. And here. Actually, thinking about Anomalocaris, which is just a very weird animal. If you want weird animals, though, you always want whenever there's like an evolutionary like leapfrogging. Whenever there is a hole in the market, so to speak, you get the craziest things evolving to fill those holes at a very rapid rate. So you have like the Cambrian explosion, and that's where you get something like the Anomalocaris. But you know, everything is kind of like usually like fusel form shaped in the water because, you know, hydrodynamics and whatnot. If you want to get just things that you look at and you go like, what were you thinking? And it's like, I wasn't thinking, says evolution. I was just winging it. You go after mass extinctions where, again, there's this like, you just like have a bunch of holes in the evolutionary marketplace, if you want to call it, but you just have a lot of like vacuums in the biosphere. And something's got to fill them because, you know, like that's just free real estate. And you get like crazy things evolving super fast. Ooh. Like you just have like, oh hey, here's an animal that just has like really big spines on its back. Like why? I don't know, man. It got big thumbs and it has like a little hooked tail to climb trees. This is like, it really feels like it's just somebody just like throwing shit at a wall to see what works. And because like there's just so many holes in the biosphere, you need something to go there quickly before something like, it's not necessarily the most competent design, but it's just the first design you get. And we plug in. I wish today was a bit of an earlier stream. Sadly, I kind of forgot to have dinner, and I had to take extra time to make dinner. Would have been starting at 9 if not for that. I want to get more consistent. That way I can start doing a soft schedule again. I don't think I'm going to go back to a hard schedule, because I just really cannot stand... Oh, frick. Having a hard schedule for personal reasons. And you feel like you're on wrong. What is... the hell? Wait a minute. Yeah, look at this. This is... But when I do, the schedules might be Discord exclusive. I'm not quite sure. But there are gonna be more plans, and they're gonna like lay out what I plan to do the whole week, not just streams, but any video or anything like Discord watch-alongs will all be there. Oh, okay, so... And then... Why are you at an angle when I plug you in is my question. It's not an angle anymore. I don't know why when I plugged it in the first time it was angled, but... Ooh, I fixed it somehow, chat. I did it! I like it when I was a little dumbstruck for half a second because I was opening up my topics notes and I first saw like all of my really old topics, and at the time when you write them, you know, several months ago, like, you know what they are, you talk about them on stream, but if you don't delete them, you just see that and you go like, what the hell did I mean by cess pump sub pump? What did why is that the first thing on my notes? And I couldn't tell you for the life of me. But chat, let me share some really messed up history with you right now. There's a country called Liberia. Anyone who's a fan of history knows this is not going to go well. What happened is after the Civil War, there was an idea to repatriate blacks to Africa. So they set up a country called, so they, had this country called Liberia where they're going to ship out a bunch of, former slaves to see how it turns out. But they didn't really give the slaves anything at all in resources, and the former slaves also just had no practical survival skills for just being thrown into a West African frickin' country. So most of them died. Bummer. But it gets a little silly after that. Because what happened after that is that the survivors, the former slaves of America, the survivors, once they got their footing, once they were surviving, they turned around, looked at their fellow blacks in Africa, and enslaved them. And when I fucking heard that, I was just... That was one of the funniest things I've ever heard. They took the slaves from America, they threw them over to Africa, and then the slaves from America, whose ancestors would have been enslaved and sold off by the Africans who they were now living with, enslaved the Africans they were now living with. It's just... It's like the circle of life in the most fucked up way imaginable. Oh god, no, it was not cannibalism. Oh, no. That's more of a... It was not cannibalism, it was just slavery for some reason. I guess they just got over there and just like, you know what? Just do what you know, I guess, is what their mantra was. And it's like, whoa, what did they know? They knew slavery. Oh my god, that is so fucked up, though. That is so amazingly fucked up that they just went over, got joined back with their ancestral home, and immediately went like, yeah, I don't know you. On a less dark topic, let's talk about poaching. Don't worry, it's in a movie. It's not actually real life poaching before you're gonna be like, this is gonna get sad, isn't it? No, but also yes. There's a movie I want to watch, and I want to get more cult classics to watch more cult classics, but one in particular I want to see is a movie I've seen brought up every now and then called Orca. And Orca is a Jaws clone. Maybe it's just D1 and D2, because so that way you can like find the pieces more easily. Maybe I'm giving them too harsh of a time. It's just like if you see the D1, you know it's going to be up here. If you see the D2, you know it's down here. Maybe I'm just being a little bit of a prick. They realize that there's a lot of pieces, and it's just to make it easier. Maybe I shouldn't be complaining. But the movie is literally a Jaws clone, and it's actually written and made by some pretty good like B cast and B writers and whatnot. But it's a Jaws clone, and like literally how the movie starts off is effectively like a guy's like, I'm gonna hunt a great white shark for an aquarium. And then the great white shark just gets absolutely brutalized by an orca, and he goes like, I'm gonna get an orca instead. And then he catches an orca. And then the stress of catching the orca causes it to like give premature birth to its baby, killing the baby. And then from all of the like, from all of like everything that happened to it, the mother orca dies. And you're like, how is this a Jaws clone? Well, because you know who was watching all of that happen? The dad orca, who just starts going on a bender, killing everyone. It literally becomes a revenge film for an orca who's just killing poachers effectively. And you're like, is the orca the good guy? Is the animal that's just wantonly killing people the good guy in this? It's like, well, I guess. But at the same time, like, it's not like the characters like lack motivation. They're just people trying to make a living. Ooh. So, like, it gets a little confusing in that regard, where you're like, am I supposed to be rooting for anyone? Not really. No, not really. Everyone's kind of bad in this situation. The orca literally destroys the fuel reserves for the coastal town. You might be like, what, how the hell does an orca destroy a shipping village's, fuel reserves? It knocks over, like, it crashes into the dock where the pipes for the fuel are, and then it, like, just breaks open, and, like, it just breaks the pipes. Okay, but, like, that wouldn't be too hard to fix. No, but, like, while it's doing that, like, a lantern gets knocked over, and then the lantern makes the oil catch on fire, and everything explodes, and it's like, that escalated. Did the orca mean to do that? Probably not. What do you mean, probably not? What? No, the answer should be just like, it's a bit of contrived. Like, how would an orca know to do that? Well, maybe he saw the lantern and knew it would get knocked over when he's doing his other stuff. What do you... Are you implying an orca, an animal that is completely bound to the water and has no comprehension or even may have never even seen a flame in its entire life, would understand how combustion works? Well, I'm not saying, I'm not saying it does, but I'm not saying it's off the table. And actually, I'll spoil this because it was spoiled for me. So you might want to put your fingers in your ears, but how the movie ends is actually I'm gonna give you time. I'm gonna do this when I'm done with the spoiler, okay? What happens is, how the movie ends, this is spoiler territory, is that the orca wins. It just kills everyone. And then it goes and swims underwater and drowns itself. And it's like, what the, like, what, like, that just happened? Like, that's how the movie ends? It just, like, it wins and then commits seppuku by just swimming under some ice where it can't, like, break out of, and it intentionally does it. Like, it intentionally drowns itself, and it's just like, what? It's like, I have killed everything that that has stood before me. Time to die. Okay. That was the spoiler out of the way. Ooh. Oh, that was on camera, right? Yeah. Okay. You get B movies, you just get crazy things like that happening. Ooh. People getting thrown about by killer whales on their tail, because actually killer whales do that in real life. Killer whales are absolute sociopaths. They like to, like, take salmon, and what they do with salmon is for some reason, a pod of whales, not all pods of whales, just some pods of whales, they like to kill salmon and then swim up to the salmon's corpse and put it on their head, then swim on the surface of the water with the salmon's corpse on their head. So they just wear salmon hats. And nobody knows why the frick orcas are wearing salmon hats, but they are. But another thing that orcas like to do is they like to play catch chat, like you used to do with your dad. In fact, often it will be a dad orca playing catch with, like, it would be a parent orca playing catch with its kid. It would be a mommy playing catch with its little, son or daughter. Isn't that wholesome? Isn't that sweet? They're playing catch, by the way, with a seal pup, which might not be dead at the beginning of it, but by the end of it, it's very dead. It's just like, why is this like, what the hell? People go like, oh, you know what? Animals are like the villains of nature. No, orcas are. Okay? Like, I don't know humans who are like, you know what? That's picked up a puppy. It's not common practice for humans to pick up puppies or kittens and go like, oh my god. Hey, think fast. Wah! And just whip it at somebody, and then the person catch it and go like, ha 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 ha, and then just throw it back and forth as fast as they can, as the cat's literally falling apart mid-air because they're throwing it with such force. That's not a thing that humans do. That's a thing that orcas do, because they're freaking sociopaths. Orcas are evil. Orcas are absolute monsters. They'll go up to a great white shark and go like, hey, it's all good fun. It's all good fun for the orca. But orcas will go up to great white sharks and be like, hey, that's a mighty fine liver you got there. And the shark will be like, wait, what? And then it'll just kill the shark and eat only its liver. Now, mind you, the liver is fatty and full of nutrition. But orcas are well known for just killing sharks and exclusively eating, especially great whites, and just eating the liver. And a lot of times how they'll do it is they'll just flip the shark upside down and then just tear its stomach open. And again, they'll just eat the liver and be like, that's good, and then just like go away. And actually, it's been observed that great white sharks will flee the area when that happens. When another great white shark is killed and its liver is eaten, it's believed that other great white sharks can smell, like, the smell of their own liver in the water, and they go, oh shit, orcas are in the area, and all the great whites leave the area whenever that happens. Like, they all get a text on their phone that says shit's going down, and they're just like, well, I don't want to be here then. I mean, you gotta think of how much of a sociopath an orca has to be, chat. That they literally beach themselves to kill other animals. Like, think about this. You're a several-ton animal that was made to, like, be in the water and has completely lost any capacity to be on the surface of this planet. But that elephant seal looks really stupid. And it'd be really funny if it's up there on the beach. Like, imagine how funny it's gonna be. You see that elephant seal up on the beach. Imagine the look on its face when you come out of the water on the, like, onto the beach, grab its tail, and then throw it back into the water, where all of your buddies rip it into 1,000 shreds, and then you turn back to the other, you know, elephant seals on the shore, go, I'll get to you later. Then you go back into the water and start eating the elephant seal you just threw in the water. That's just shit that, like, orcas do. They're monsters. Like, great white sharks, they'll go up to a person, they'll be like, oh, hey, is this a seal? They'll bite off their leg and go like, this tastes terrible, and leave. You know, like, they accidentally bite off people's legs because they're like, their teeth are so sharp. Killer whales are like, that's not a seal when they see a human. They just go like, I don't know what that is, but it doesn't look too fun to interact with, so I'm not gonna bother. But that's not to say that orcas don't attack people, because they have been recorded attacking people. For example, there was a couple and their daughter who were sailing around the world, and a pod of dolphins, not dolphins, sorry, a pod of killer whales went up to their boat, went like, this is a mighty fine boat you got here, and just sank it. They just started ramming into it and sank the boat. And you might be like, oh, maybe they mistook it for a blue whale or something. No. Orcas know the difference between a blue whale and a big-ass boat. These orcas, for no apparent reason, just decided, you know what? I hate this boat. You know what? Screw you. This thing can't be here. This is my territory. So a pod of, so they just rammed into it. And actually, the family survived. The family survived by going into the bathtub that was on the boat, and then just kind of being adrift at sea for several days in the bathtub like it's a life raft. And it's like, Jesus Christ. Like, why did the orcas do that? Because they wanted to. They're one of the few animals that can F with humans because they want to and come out the victor. They are absolutely horrifying things. Maybe we just don't taste good. For sharks, we don't taste good. Sharks actually don't like the taste of humans unless they're extra hungry, because sharks want seals. They want, like, either seals or fatty fish, you know? So imagine you want that, and then you taste like an anorexic pig. You know, you're gonna be like, You taste anorexic, uncooked pig. You're gonna be like, ew, ew, gross. Ooh. You wanted fish. I didn't want that. Maybe it's actually just against their religion. Maybe that's why sharks typically don't eat humans. It's just not kosher. They took the term long pig a little too seriously. What if that was true? What if all sharks were Jewish? I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm not really going anywhere. I'm just now imagining sharks swimming in the ocean with yarmulkes. Maybe some of those braids on the side of their head that the Orthodox Jews have. I don't know where this. It's not going anywhere. Why do I... Wait a minute. Okay, I was like, why... Wait a minute. I actually have a memory of seeing a shark in, dressed like that. A shark with a yarmulke and, the little spindlies on their head that Orthodox Jews have. And I don't know if I actually remember that, but what I was thinking of was actually two things. I was thinking of a Robot Chicken skit where they were like, oh, we digitally remastered Jaws because we wanted the shark to be more in the movie. And it's just a bunch of clips of the shark on, the shore interacting with people and whatnot. It's really stupid. And one of the scenes is the scene where they're like, what are we gonna do about this shark? And all this, this scene where the whole town is together and talking about, what they're gonna do. And in the crowd of, inside... In the crowd, there's just a shark sitting on a chair with a really horrible disguise. He has Groucho Marx glasses and a hat or something. And he just goes, I say we let him go. But there's also, I don't remember if it's Mad TV or SNL. They had a skit, I remember, though, which was just called Land Shark. And all it would be a shark, would just be a shark that would just make you open your door. And then it would eat you. And that was the whole joke, but for some reason it was funny. It'd just be like, knock, 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 who's there? Land shark, I mean pizza. It's like, I didn't order pizza. And it'd just be this drawn out conversation. And how it'd always end is just the person would open the door and the shark would just eat them. Ooh, the 90s were a simpler time, man. Actually, speaking of older media, makes me, I saw a post on Twitters where a person was like, oh, hey, why is it that, Hell of a Boss, when they are, being crude and have, their humor, people are like, oh, this is, crude and not funny. But then when Panty and Stocking do the same thing, people love it. And it's well, the reason why Panty and Stocking get a pass and Hell of a Boss doesn't, it's because one, the writing isn't the same, but two, Panty and Stocking is effectively a satire of Western culture and an American animation. So when in Panty and Stocking, they do something that it when they do their things, a lot of times it is again more of kind of they're juxtaposing American animation styles, which is why Panty and Stocking looks the way it does. They're juxtaposing that to kind of more crass American humor of the late 2000s, which is closer to when Panty and Stocking originally came out. Ooh. The 90s the 90s, I've said this many times, is when they really figured out how to make formulaic movies that were just, again, made by the book, but didn't feel cliched or trite or anything like that. They felt original and fresh, but you could also tell they were hitting every point that they needed to, that they were fulfilling a formula, so to speak, but the formula always it never made the fact that you knew it was being done on a formula didn't matter, because how it was done was so skilled that you could appreciate the final product. Ooh. It's like they were following a they were chefs making with a recipe. They weren't. It's not like other cases where where it's just a TV dinner of a film. Like these people were following a formula, yes. But did I do that wrong? I don't think so. They were following a formula, but it was their own original ingredients they were putting into the formula. They get things like A Knight's Tale, which I think might have been early 2000s. But you get things like A Knight's Tale. You get I think was Princess Bride 80s or 90s? Ooh. You get The Matrix, which again I think is early 2000s. It's kind of weird because like 90s cinema goes into like the early 2000s a little. There's a little bit of bleed over because movie trends don't follow like because movie trends don't follow the decade exactly. Like 80s movies effectively started like in 82, but then they went on to like 1994 if you actually like look at movies that are like traditional 80s films, and then like 90s films went from like mid 90s to like mid 2000s. It's a little weird. Like we want to categorize history like by these clean decades and whatnot, but like if you actually look at the culture of those eras, it's a little more. It's a little more fluid than just 81 to 89. Sorry, 1980 to 1989. I'm gonna watch all those 90s, not necessarily B sci-fi like Red Planet and Mission to Mars and oh my god, I don't. There were why were there so many Martian like sci-fi films in the 90s? Actually, wait a minute. It's because they were kind of just trying to like figure out what to do in the 90s. It didn't have like a genre like some of the other decades had, like westerns or sci-fis or anything. So you kind of had everything. You had like a Western Renaissance in the 90s. You had, B sci-fis like you mentioned. Like you had, I shouldn't say B, but like you had things like Event Horizon, Red Planet, which is a movie I haven't thought about in forever. You had like the Lost in Space movie. You had all sorts of like just things that they were just trying to figure out like what can they do. And it's a really cool era for that alone, that they were just kind of going all over the place. But God, I haven't thought about Red Planet in a while, but you bringing it up made me remember, and then I forgot immediately. Another B sci-fi. It wasn't the John Carpenter movie, which was like one of his last movies. He was like, you know what? I'm good. He made like kind of like a mid-budget sci-fi and just went like, you know what? I don't think I need to do this no more. But oh my god, you also had what's it called? The Fifth Element was also kind of a 90s movie, maybe early 2000s, but when I say 90s, I'm referring to anything in the 90s and early 2000s, just for clarity. You had a lot of good old movies. Was Red Planet... It had to be Red Planet, because it wasn't Mission to Mars, was it? Where, like, what it is they go to Mars, but then they have to crash land on the planet. And what happens is, like, the robot that was designed to help them wants to kill them for some reason. Like, they have, it's not a rover, but they have, like, this kind of robot that's designed to, like, scout out the territory and do stuff. For some reason, it has, like, a malfunction where it wants to kill them. And so they're just being hunted down. Like, while they're trying to, like, after crash landing, trying to like walk to, the rocket that can get them back to Earth, they're just being hunted down by a robot for some reason. And I don't remember. I think it just like crashes and malfunctions. I think that's all the explanation you get. It's like, that's good enough. Ooh. With Val, oh my god, I forgot that's Val Kilmer. I've not seen Red Planet. It's so long. But it was pretty cool visually. For a planet that's literally just set on Mars as they walk around, was pretty cool. I like, hold on, I'm gonna look at this real quick to make sure I do it correctly. I do like in Oh, did I do this right? I think so. Sorry, a visual in Red Planet. Let me get back on track. That I remember liking was the fact that, like, one of the things they did was before going to Mars is that, like, they settled it with some, like, algae or something to terraform it. And there were also some beetles, something that's very similar to Terraform Mars now that I think about it, but not the same thing. But also they just introduced the fact that it's like, yeah, also there's like these bugs on this planet, and I think they just like piranha eat a person, like they just swarm one of the astronauts and just devour him, and it's just like, so that's also a thing, you know? Like we had a killer robot chasing us, but now also the only, like, we have introduced life to this planet, and it's really hungry. Crash put it in military mode. Why would it have a military mode? But yeah, okay. It was just a malfunction. It was just the Crash, you know, put it in the wrong mode, and it was just like, I need to kill everything. Maybe don't make your... Maybe just uninstall the military mode. Just a thought when you're going to, like, an alien planet that has no army on it. Oh, yeah, and he ignites them to kill the robot totally out of... Wait, that... Oh, how do I not remember the whole like, he... Wait, so, like, he ignites them and, like, what? Because they, like, make, methane or something? They, like, literally... So they made an atmosphere on Mars, and then on the first mission to Mars, they destroyed the atmosphere of Mars? Is that what you're telling me in this movie? Or did he just, like, explode a local radius? Because he say the whole planet. We're gonna go to Mars. Comes back. So... You did an exterminatus on the planet we're trying to settle. How did you do that? Methane and oxygen? Jesus. Okay, so this is this and this is this. Okay. I do kind of wonder if originally the movie was just like they crash on Mars and then they have to get off Mars, and it's just like a classic survival movie, and it's like the planet itself is just so dangerous, and that's the idea. Like they die from exposure and whatnot, and then like some Hollywood bigwig was like, not interesting enough, add a killer robot. And it's just like, well, why would there be a killer robot? They brought the killer robot. Why would they bring a killer robot? Well, it was meant to help them, but it decides to kill him instead. Why would any of this happen? I don't know. You're the writer, damn it. We should do a watch along. If you have the movie, I would not be opposed to you hosting it if you have the movie, but I don't have it, but that isn't a half bad idea. We should do more watch alongs of like cult classics or just forgotten movies. Because Event Horizon would also be a fun one, but I don't have Event Horizon either. Ooh, there's also 2010 A Space Odyssey, which is like also kind of a cult classic sci-fi from, I think, the 1990s. Ooh. It's all kind of, it's pretty neat overall, but ooh. There's just so many movies in the like they just did so much in the 90s, and they just experimented, and it's just a shame that you just don't get experimentation like that as much anymore. Like now it's just like, oh hey, Disney's successful with superheroes, so we just have to like keep trying to make superheroes, says is it Warner Brothers or yeah, it's WB, it's Warner Brothers. It's like, so we have to keep trying to push superheroes. It's like, yeah, but like you're really bad at like pushing your superheroes, and it's like, no, we finally did it with James Gunn's Superman. It's like, okay, but like I'm happy that like they finally made a movie that's like doing better, I guess, but at the same time I'm kind of sitting there like, can we just like go back to like trying to make original movies, because that was a really good era. 2010 was meh. To be fair, it was like based off 2001: A Space Odyssey was an original project by Kubrick, and he simply brought Arthur C. Clarke in to do the the novelization, and Arthur C. Clarke had no control over the adaptation. Like, Kubrick literally told him what to write, so he effectively was a ghostwriter, not an actual, like, novelist. And 2010 was kind of Arthur C. Clarke going like, well, this is the story I would have made, and it's a lot less interesting, to be honest. It has some cool concepts in it, don't get me wrong, but, like, the original 2001 is a very show-don't-tell existential film that indirectly asks and answers a lot of questions, and it's just a visual masterpiece for that. And 2010 is a traditional sci-fi in comparison, which is just a little less interesting. Like, I love sci-fi, but Kubrick used sci-fi as a premise to tell a deeper existential story about mankind's relation to technology and I shouldn't say spiritual, and just enlightenment in general, and finding peace. And that's not what the second movie's about. Remember the 2012 apocalypse? I remember how everyone was freaking out about it, yes, because it's just like there's gonna be they made a movie called 2012 over it, and that movie is literally what people believed was going to happen. And I think that's my favorite thing about that film. It's not the fact of how absurd the movie is, because the movie is insane. 2012 by Roland Emmerich. Blessed be his name. We love Roland Emmerich. Here he is. He's a 90s over-the-top director who never stopped being a 90s over-the-top director. But Roland Emmerich just made a movie about, like, all of the theories and I shouldn't say theories, all of, like, the crackpot ideas of what would happen in 2012 to destroy the Earth. And pretty much everything in it, somebody believed one of the things that happened, like Yellowstone was gonna erupt, you know, and that happens. The world was gonna flood, you know, a rogue planet was gonna hit the Earth, you know, it's just all sorts of crazy shit. Just no hold bars. It's like, it's every theory of why the world was going to end in 2012 in one movie. There's going to be a massive earthquake that destroys the west coast of America, causing a tsunami that floods all of Asia. Just absolutely crazy shit. And it's fun as hell. It is such a wild ride. And if you don't know who Roland Emmerich is, there's a movie called Independence Day, where he turns the 4th of July from being a story about America throwing off the shackles of the British. And he's like, but what if instead of that, the 4th of July was about mankind repelling an alien invasion? If you're like, that's one of the dumbest things I ever heard, yeah, that's what makes it so great. And I can't find this B, and I'm just buying time looking for a piece that I cannot find. Okay. But it is absolutely amazing. It is a masterpiece. Oh my god. There's a character in the movie who's just like this random side character who's just a guy who was abducted by the aliens before all of the things happen in the movie. And everyone like dismisses him because it's like, oh hey, this guy was abducted by aliens and has PTSD, but like, obviously that's not true. Obviously he's just an alcoholic who, you know, makes up this wild story about being abducted by aliens to, you know, get sympathy and, you know, so people, and then as an excuse for his shitty behavior and whatnot. Like, that's actually what's happening. And then it turns out, no, he actually was abducted by aliens. And it's just like this B plot throughout the entire like film of just like, yeah, this other family, like this group of people, you know, connected to this guy who was abducted by aliens and all this stuff. Until the end of the film where they're actually like fighting the aliens in fighter jets. Like they're fighting the aliens in fighter jets. There's so much to explain here. but the aliens have like a super weapon where their ships open up and they fire a super laser into the ground, and it causes pretty much like a nuclear blast. And what they're doing is they're charging up their super laser. It's like a mini Death Star laser, right? And they're charging it up, and they need to stop it because, you know, they're going to destroy, you know, one of the last bastions of humanity. You know, they're going to like destroy the last place where, you know, humanity can fight back against the aliens. And so like they're doing all this stuff and they're trying to fight him. And this guy, and they're like, oh, we need to fire our missiles into the thing while it's charging, you know, hit the glowing weak spot for extra damage kind of logic. But oh no, everyone is out of missiles, and everyone is, you know, everyone's just out of missiles is what's happened. And then this drunk PTSD, you know, farm crop dusting dude just appears because I guess he volunteered to be part of the Air Force with everyone else. I'm pretty sure it's shown earlier in the movie, but I haven't seen it in a while. But he just appears and he's just like, I got a missile, Mr. President. And you're just like, I'm sorry. Is our, like, it wasn't even a B plot. I said it was a B plot. It's more like a D plot. Because this movie has so many plot lines going throughout of it. Because it has so many characters. So this is like the D plot of the movie. And it's just like, and you're just like, I'm sorry. Is our D plot of the movie interacting with, like, our A plot, right? Actually, it's not even the A plot. This is the B plot. Them destroying Independence Day. Them destroying the giant ship about to, like, literally nuclear laser beam a Area 51. That's the B plot of the film, effectively. Like, the real plot of the film is Jeff Goldblum and Will Smith in the alien mothership hacking it. Again, there's a lot to explain in this movie, but we're focusing on Randy Quaid. Thank you for giving me his name. Oh my god. It is a fantastic movie, and I should have played it for July, in all honesty. Next year, I honestly, I have to order it before next year so we can watch it, so we can do a watch along for it. And where's the piece? But what it is like he's there and he's like, don't worry, Mr. President, going back. He's like, everyone has no missiles. And he's like, don't worry, Mr. President, I got a missile left. And it's like, there he is, there's our boy. But wait, his missile won't fire. A malfunction in the wing won't release the missile. What are they gonna do? Oh no, humanity's lost. Mr. President is gonna get shot down in his plane. Oh my god. And yes, the president's just flying a fighter jet. Don't ask questions, it's cool. He had a whole speech earlier in the film where he's like, this will be our Independence Day. It's a really cool speech, but we're not focusing on that. We need to get back to Randy Quaid. But Randy Quaid, his missile won't fire. So he's just like, screw it. And he just decides to fly into the laser beam. And when I say fly into the laser beam, I don't mean like he's going to fly into the projector of the laser beam. I mean he literally goes down and then flies directly vertically up into the laser beam through the charging beam, which is like, firstly, how did you know like you wouldn't be blown up by the charging laser beam? And secondly, isn't your plane going to stall? And it's actually kind of funny because it looks like the plane almost stalls before hitting the laser beam projector. But it also has a very famous line in it, because what it is the guy who was abducted, who was, you know, probed by the aliens and traumatized by them, has his moment, because he flies into the projector and it cuts into his cockpit where he opens his mask for his, like, fighter jet mask. And he just goes, hello, boys, I'm back! And he fucking blows it all up. And it's just like, this is cinema. Why can't we have this today? It's exactly Opus. I'm back! It's just so good. It's such an off-the-wall movie that has no pretense of being serious. And it's just like, what if we made the most just ostentatious, over-the-top alien invasion movie ever, and they absolutely succeeded. And then they made a sequel that nobody talks about. But that movie to Independence Day is so damn entertaining. Originally had him flying his crop duster with missiles strapped to it. I am a little upset that wasn't what they did. That they didn't just put missiles onto a crop duster. I'm a little surprised, considering I know some of Roland Emmerich's other films, that he didn't do that. It's fun. It is brilliant. It is some of the most brilliant writing you will ever see. And it's like right before like Jeff Goldblum became a parody of himself as well. You know, when his characters were actually characters and not just Jeff Goldblum being wacky kooky because that's what the audience likes. Jeff Goldblum is a great actor though. It's just that he kind of got it's I don't know, it's like in the mid to like late 2000s they just started casting Jeff Goldblum though instead of as Jeff Goldblum. Instead of like as a character, they would just cast Jeff Goldblum as Jeff Goldblum. And I love Jeff Goldblum, but like what made him good is that he gave his unique flavor to unique characters. It's kind of like a similar thing with like Samuel L. Jackson, where like there's movies where it's just like he's just cast as Samuel L. Jackson, and you're like, in one regard, you're like, I like it, but like, I've seen Samuel L. Jackson. I want to see Samuel L. Jackson like be someone else, but also I don't want to complain. Goldblum fell a bit hurt. Goldblum again, he just got typecasted as himself, which is just a weird circumstance. Ooh. And he's like paid hand over fist for it though, so like, I mean, at least he got good money for it. Dude, I have no idea if Randy Quaid got canceled. I haven't heard about Randy Quaid in a long time in general, to be honest though. Hollywood is kind of like a bitch factory though, to be honest. That sounds like I'm saying like Randy Quaid was a bitch. No, I'm saying that like people will just get blacklisted in Hollywood for like no apparent reason, and it's really, really annoying. Like Avery Brooks, the actor for Benjamin Sisko. Fantastic actor, great dramatic performances. He was just blacklisted from Hollywood for like the last 30... He's just been blacklisted for the last 30 years in Hollywood, in all honesty. And it's really a shame because he's just a really, really fine actor who can give a character a nice range of emotion. Like, he can be the stoic character. He can be the, you know... He can give multiple performances, and it's just a real shame that... Oh crap, I just realized I messed up something. I did make a mistake. It's just a shame that, like, I don't know why, if it was because of just differences or what it was. He was just blacklisted, and he himself is just like, yeah, no, that I just got, like, people just stopped contacting me, and I was never told why. And it's just like, Jesus Christ. Ooh. Like, people just started avoiding him, and I don't know, like, it's not really known why. And some people are like, oh, it's because of his political beliefs. There are people with way shittier political beliefs than Avery Brooks. I'm going to be completely frank with you, in Hollywood, who do get called back. Does he also have fucking half of like you know what? I was going to say half of Hollywood has TDS. No, there's a lot more than half. Oh my god. Nothing has done harm to the, like, marketability of celebrities as much as just Twitter. As much as finding out, oh, hey, these people are insufferable idiots, like everyone else I know, but even worse, because they're also narcissists, really was not good for their image. It's crazy that one of the actors who has one of the best images in Hollywood at this point is Tom Cruise. And the reason that is insane to say is because in the mid 2000s, Tom Cruise was crashing out like it was nobody's business. He like converted to Scientology. He jumped on Oprah's couch. He was like he was jumping around like a spider monkey on methamphetamines. And today, you know, people are like, oh god, like people might actually see a movie just because it has Tom Cruise in it, simply because like they don't think, because even though he's had like movies that haven't been successful, you never think like, oh yeah, Tom Cruise, like he believes in Scientology, which is a little weird, but he's never called me like a lesser human life form because of my political habits. And the fact that that's this common practice in Hollywood, you know, is kind of a problem. Tom Cruise was a meme. Ooh. But the key part is he didn't alienate people. He just kind of was like a weirdo for a little bit. Or at least he didn't directly alienate people. Like, ah, crap, I put it on backwards. Like a lot of modern celebrities. Okay. I'm gonna take this off screen because I'm gonna have to do it very slowly. Okay, I'm gonna have to go under my desk because the piece fell off, so give me a moment to do that. Need to get this shoulder done. I also need to start stream earlier because I really need to stop going into like 12:30. You know who's a person who had a crash out who did not recover? Because Tom Cruise like had a crash out, but like his crash out was more like him being a little bit of a silly weirdo. Somebody who had a crash out who did not recover was Charlie Sheen. Great young up and coming actor, hit his midlife crisis, banged a bunch of prostitutes, got caught for doing that and a lot of drugs. And his reaction was to say that, you know what? Him getting caught on all that shit doesn't change the fact that he's a winner. He drinks tiger blood. He has tiger blood going through his veins. And it's just like, what the hell are you talking about? Okay, so I need to actually get this a little bit off. So I can get this together. And I don't know why, of all the things, most people would think of 2.5 Men with Charlie Sheen because he was on that show forever. Whenever I think of Charlie Sheen, I usually think of Red Dawn. And it's not even, and then that always makes me think of the fact that, I forget the name of the actor, but like in Red Dawn, everyone's like a 17 or 18-year-old actor because they're all supposed to be like high school students. But then you have, I forget his name, but you have like the guy who plays Charlie Sheen's older brother, who's supposed to be like somebody who like just graduated high school and, you know, is like who's like still like, you know, supposed to be 19 or something. And everyone else again is like 18, 17, maybe 19, the actors. And then you just have, it's a guy from Roadhouse. What's his name? I'm gonna look it up real quick. No, you piece of shit, Google. Google! It's literally sending me to a place called, like, it's sending me to a restaurant. And it's trying to get, like, geolocate me. Like, what the hell? Ooh, is it Swayze? No, movie, not oh my god, Google, I hate you. I believe it's Patrick Swayze. I needed... Yes, it's Patrick Swayze. I know it's the same actor, so I looked up Roadhouse instead of Red Dawn like an idiot, but I knew he'd come up first. But Patrick Swayze plays the older brother, and as I said, everyone else, when the movie came out, was like 19, 17, what have you. Patrick Swayze's like 32. And he looks like he's 21. Ooh. This is kind of funny. Like, everyone else is like their proper age, and they need to see Patrick Swayze. Just over 10 years, like over 10 years senior to like almost everyone else he's like starring with. Ooh. Called the pharmaceutical company pretty much before anyone had any idea how bad it was. That is true, but he was so hopped up on the drugs that's actually true. Ooh. If you're talking about... Wait. Crap, I can't remember. Actually, wait. Because I, like, remember both Charlie Sheen and Tom Cruise, like, doing something like that. So my brain's getting a little confused. Because I remember, like, Tom Cruise saying, like, how people are poisoning themselves with drugs. But I also remember Charlie Sheen talking about how, like, legal drugs are meant to be addictive that then lead to, like, non-legal drug addictions. And both have a point, and, like, both of those are true. The stream is so long. I think he was on Oprah, and he made a morning show. Tom Cruise is who I yeah okay. Yeah, the Oprah thing is where he jumps on the couch and whatnot. But also like he did like, I think that's the one where he talks about again like how, I think in that context he's like says about how he's high on life or something, you know, and he's like super excitable and he jumps up and down, which became the meme. People thought his career was over after that, though. I do remember people thought Tom Cruise's career was absolutely over when he was like losing his shit and whatnot. And like he wasn't losing it in a negative way, mind you, to be completely honest. He wasn't like, you know, he was just like being a really weird freaking guy more than anything to my memory. It's not like Charlie Sheen, who like, you know, got caught with a bunch of whores and drugs and was like, you know, like, I am invincible afterwards. Okay, let's get this out. And this out. And what we need to do is we need to get 8 goes over here. And 7 will go on the other side. Okay. Kind of weird to think about one of Tom Cruise's movies that was like made him come back was Tropic Thunder. That was one of his like movies where like again, people thought he was a little kooky, that he had his day in the sun and he was going to fade. He's either gonna like burn out or fade away, but either way he was done for. That he had come and he was on his way out. But not only was it not only for him, but also Robert Downey Jr. For Robert Downey Jr. is more also just like, you know, Iron Man and Marvel and whatnot. But also Robert Downey Jr., it was considered part of his comeback tour, Tropic Thunder. Kind of weird to think about. Tom Cruise is hilarious in Tropic Thunder, though. I talk about it too much, but at the same time, it's just worth talking about. Ooh. Is this one of those rare times you see a serious actor in a comedic role, and they're just able to get out all of the comedy, all of like the silliness that's been building up in them for decades, it feels like, and it's just and they nearly steal the movie for it. Same thing with Robert Downey Jr. in that movie. Like, almost everyone else is, like, some kind of comedic actor, but the two guys who are the serious actors being silly for once absolutely steal the show. I'm the dude playing the dude disguised as another dude. Oop. This needs to be here, Merrick, so you don't get things mixed up. God. Roadhouse, I didn't just realize it, but I just remembered, is a movie I've never seen from start to finish. It's one of those weird movies where, like, due to circumstance, I have seen, like, every part of it, but not linearly. So I know everything that happens in it, and it's a really cool movie. That should be another watch-along. Roadhouse. Oh god, there's a big fight in Roadhouse. I'm gonna say spoilers, same rule as before. I'm gonna clap my hand, like I'm gonna do this, you know, and when I do that again, it'll be when the spoiler is done. Okay. But I really want to talk about this. So, spoiler starts now. In Roadhouse, like, the plot is something. It's like some rich guy trying to get, like, the land from, like, he's like trying to get his, like, he's just trying to get his property or some shit. I can't remember that much. Ooh. You've never seen it all the way through either? Okay. Well, in it, though, I have seen the big fight scene in the movie, and what happens is, like, the bad guy effectively, like, hires an assassin. Ooh. Oh, I had it on the wrong side. Hires an assassin to, like, kill Patrick Swayze. And what they end up doing is they have, like, this massive, drawn-out, like, just hand-to-hand fight scene. And, like, the fight literally, like, it starts in one place, and then by the end of it, like, they go across a lake in this fight scene. It just keeps going, and it's just absolutely brutal. But Patrick Swayze ends up killing his would-be assassin actually on the property of the guy who sent the assassin, and he's just in the backyard of the guy who sent the assassin, and he just like literally kills the guy, shows the guy who sent the assassin, and it's just like, you do not fuck with me, I'm Patrick Swayze. And it's just like I'm underselling it so much, but it's such a, it's one of those, like, fight scenes that you're just like, this is just, like, a little too real and visceral, but also that's what makes it so cool. Ooh. It's kind of like an even more hardcore version of the fight from John Carpenter's They Live. Ooh. Okay. I'm clapping my hands because we're done with talking about the Swayze fight, but we're now going to talk about the They Live fight. They Live has one of the realest fights ever, because it was just effectively two bros just actually duking it out. It has such a stupid idea behind it too, because in They Live, what it is, you have sunglasses, lets you see the world as it truly is. And the fight itself can be seen as symbolic for, like, deeper, you know, things about, like, converting people to your ideology and whatnot. But the fight just goes on and on. And what it is you have the professional wrestler Roddy Piper, and you have Keith David, who just beating the shit out of each other, because Piper's like, put on the sunglasses and see the world as it truly is. And you have Keith David who's like, I'm good, I don't want to be a part of this. Hi, sorry I'm late. I moved into my new apartment and got a new phone. Ooh, a new phone, so... Well, you sound like you've been busy, but I'm happy to hear that you're getting some stuff done on your end. I hope if it's been a busy day, I hope it's also been a successful day. And I think, actually, speaking of success, we are maybe done for today, and we can assemble, so sorry you tuned in at the end. But we can start assembling the top half of it, because we have done the head today. We have done the shoulder pads, which I have to make sure I put on the correct shoulder pads on the correct side. And for They Live, I think I'll just talk about it another time, but if you haven't seen They Live in general, great movie. Ooh, maybe... I need to think... no, I can't do a watch-along this. I was like, what watch-along? We should do a watch-along this week. I can't do a watch-along this week because... Give me 1 second, my brain is melting. Because, I'm doing a... I'm doing a collab stream. That's not really an option. Been your most successful day in quite a few years. Good to hear. Did I put this on correctly? Yeah, I put it on correctly. It's just really freaking tight. Hold up, let me try to... Like, as I've said before, I really don't want to damage this, so I'm really being careful with it. So I can't believe the last thing we're gonna do for stream is figure out how to plug this in. But... there we go. Okay, so what you have to do to plug these in more easily is you lift it up the shoulder pad. Okay, so these V-fins, I thought that was gonna happen, are gonna have to be glued in. They're really nice, they look really cool, but they are not very securely in there, and they are very small. Let me push that back in. I clapped my hands so that I was done with the spoilers, right? It's been a nice stream. We've been talking about stuff. Maybe I should actually something we talked about and talking about watch-alongs. I really should just do a watch-along for Man in the Glass Booth. I don't think anyone's gonna tune into it, but that movie's so wild. It starts off so slow, but gets so crazy by the end of it. Like, nothing, like, action-wise crazy, it's just... It's a movie... I mean, I said earlier, but you weren't here earlier. A Man in the Glass Booth is a movie that is about a Holocaust survivor in New York... A New York Holocaust survivor, you know, business mogul Jewish man getting arrested by the state of Israel and held on trial for being a Nazi. And it is wild as hell. Like, just halfway through, like, if you don't know what's coming, the first half of the film is just like a crazy dude being a little bit of a weird paranoid guy. And then by the second half of the film, you're like, we're in Israel now, and the character has a completely different personality. I don't want to spoil too much, though, but it is a really fun film. And that is what we have for today. For the F91, we'll be doing the legs. We were supposed to do the guns, but we're at 3 hours, and I don't like the streams being too long. But let me check this and see what we have. It is beautifully insane, but it's actually really well done as well, because it's actually based off of a TV play. So it's all, like, character-focused and whatnot, and, like, it is actually really good. If you know what happens in the second half of the film and you, like, re-watch the movie, you can actually see everything being set up by the main character that happens in the second half. And, like, you're like, oh, like, it all makes sense now. Like, he's just doing all this stuff, and, like, if you're not paying attention, it just seems like this crazy character doing crazy things for no reason. But if you pay attention, by the second half of the film, all the pieces of what he was doing in the first half of the film start falling into place, including him just doing very random things that just make you go like, what's the point of that? It's a lot of setup. Thanks for this stream, Merrick. We are on some big tangents, but I think I'll call it here for today, and I'll either do these off stream or I'll pre-cut them out so they're easy to build at the start of next stream. But we have half of the F91 to do. We just have to do his underslung guns, and actually, even though we are not very deep into this, I have to say, like, he feels very nice to handle. These V-fins are a little loose, but that's nothing some plastic cement can't fix. But he feels really, really nice, which is very refreshing, because I liked the Gundam The Origin, but the Gundam The Origin didn't feel what I wanted from a master grade of its time. This feels just satisfying to hold, even though I only have half of them in my hand. It feels satisfying to, like, pose and move around. The movie was Man in the Glass Booth. You used to be able to find it on YouTube, but last year, actually around this time, actually it wasn't around this time, last year, when is Star Wars? May, June. Last year in June, it was taken off of YouTube because it was added to streaming services, and it's really hard. If I can, I'll just show you guys on on Discord, but that would have to wait until next week. But it's a little hard to find, because it's kind of like a more niche film. Ooh. But you might have to, like, if you want to get it legitimately, you might have to rent it. So you might have to have a streaming service and then rent it on top of that. And if you ain't got that, I've actually found it to be a little hard. I own the film, but I still looked for it anyways. I found it a little difficult, but if you want to know which version of the film I'm talking about, it's the one with Maximilian Schell as the leading actor. And that is Maximilian with one L, if I remember correctly. And that Schell is spelled Schell. But that is our build. That is the movie recommendation. It's a very fun film. If I can, I'll show it next week. Can't show it this week because, again, we have a collab. And that... Could we show it before the collab? No, we're not going to do that. We're going to... We have a collab. It is scheduled, it looks, for 7 o'clock on Saturday now. We'll be joined by at least 3 other people, and I hope you will join us as well. I hope you have enjoyed the stream as much as I have enjoyed doing it. I hope the tangents haven't gotten too crazy for you. And let me find a place to link you guys and or raid you out to before we say our final goodbyes. I'll start with Twitch just because that should be the simpler one, I think. I'm gonna link out on Twitch. Because on Twitch, I can just click onto miniatures and find somebody doing a miniature. What? Sorry, I do want to link you out, I just don't know where to. Nobody building Gunpla right now, everyone else is doing everything at... Oh, we talked about the Psycho Zaku last time, so this guy is building a Psycho Zaku. He's a face cammer, not a VTuber. But for context, this is what we talked about yesterday, very briefly. Not yesterday, on Monday very briefly. Or was that earlier this stream? I don't know, but there you go. There you go, Twitch. Now let me find a place to link you out to on YouTube. Ooh. We did no wait, did we do Couple Kitsune? We did Couple Kitsune recently. I like Metroid, so I'm gonna go and send you to Kiki. Ooh. He's playing Super Metroid, and Super Metroid is super good. So here is an Australian bunny girl. Have a great rest of your night. A great day, wonderful life, all that. Hope you can join me for streams later this week. On Saturday, we have the collab with Atya Tepis and some other people playing Peak. On Friday, we should finally be continuing... My brain just melted. Claire Obscure Expedition 33, and I have no idea what we're doing tomorrow, but we're supposed to be doing something. It's either Mario or it's either you know what? I might just have Discord vote on it. I don't know. We're doing something tomorrow. Have a great night, everybody. Bye-bye. You're wonderful people.